Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope you all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in, here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
What's up, BSers?
What's up, peeps?
Fred, Scott, Drew in the house tonight. A little bit of a skeleton crew here in the BS studios. Happy post-Memorial Day out there to everybody. Thank you to everyone who has served and continues to serve and protect our country.
And thank you for those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good weekend for me. I'm full of sunburn, dog scratches, crushed balls, and mosquito bites. It was a fantastic weekend.
Was it? Yeah. That great?
It was great, man. All the things you could ask for. How about you? Did you do anything fun on the holiday?
Just hung around. Went to Drew's house. Watched a pay-per-view for wrestling. Nothing you need to worry about.
Yeah, sounds great.
And then we were over my parents for Memorial Day. Just kind of sitting back and enjoying the day. Carrie had to work, so
they get the pool open.
They got the pool open. It was a little too cool in the water to be jumping in.
Yeah, it does surprise me.
The water was about 69, 70, so we were like, no, you can dip your toes in, but that's about it.
Yeah, we got about waist deep in the pool at the house, so it was. I can understand that. It was pretty damn cold. Drew, did you have a good weekend?
Oh man, I had a cookout on Monday, like Scott said, over for AEW. It was a fun time for a couple hours. Randomly decided to get some geckos while we were at the reptile show on Saturday. That's a little interesting, learning about how to take care of them. They're pretty nonchalant.
I was going to say, they're pretty easy to manage.
They're pretty easy to manage. But yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. I feel like we accomplished a lot of things.
Good, man. Good. Well, around the castle, the Ravens continue OTAs this week. The headline, unfortunately, continues to dominate the news about Lamar not being there and his continued absence.
Yeah, but with that being said, we're actually going to talk about OTAs and what we've heard and seen so far. And
thank God.
We're also going to get into the Ravens last week after a show on Wednesday. They dropped the wired session of the rookie minicamp.
Yeah.
Some interesting things that we're going to get into later about that.
Yeah, and the Birds may not be in the hunt for the AL East crown, but there are glimmers of hope shining through for the future, man. Things look good as they went on the road in the AL East and took 3 out of 5 up in Boston.
Hell yeah.
14 and 16 on the year or on the month in Miami or May.
Month of May, yeah. Glimmers of hope there. You wanted to give a little shout out before we get into our sponsor read.
Before we do the sponsor read, got to give a big congrats out there to the Maryland men's Terps lacrosse team winning the national title. Kudos to you guys, man. It was a fantastic year, man. A historic year. Obviously, they went wire to wire, undefeated. They've only lost one game in the past 2 seasons. Yeah. That being, a national championship game last year.
They were dominant.
Yeah, this was it wasn't easy. That national championship. Kudos to Cornell. This was a game that I think many experts expected the Terps to just kind of roll through. They ended up winning. It was 9-7. But again, it was one of those teams, man. They were destined for big things because the wins that they had throughout this year, they weren't just your 1 or 2 goal wins. They were absolute dominant wins all year long, and it was good to see them finally get over the hump and get it done.
And the other shout out to give too, right? Is Terps baseball.
Yeah,
Terps baseball wins the Big Ten championship. They're holding a regional setup at College Park moving forward.
Bob Smith.
It's definitely going to be interesting. And there's some people that are out there. I don't know how much you pay attention to the college baseball stuff, but with the Terps being in, I've been paying attention a little more than I usually do. I'll be honest. Last year and this year kind of really got me excited. The way they played last year, didn't finish how they wanted to. This year they're finishing how they want to. I'm excited. These guys have a real shot at a potential national championship.
Yeah, they stumbled a little bit in the Big Ten tournament, unfortunately, which kind of affected, I think, their ranking. They would have been a higher seed, probably would have been a top 10 seed or maybe a 10 seed. Ended up being at 15 with that stumble. But nonetheless, this is a very good team, a powerful team. They've got good pitching across the board. They're a very complete team. So it is a team that can make a run for sure.
Freaking raw power on that team, by the way.
And you can't go without mentioning the Lady Terps. I know they fell short in the Final Four, but still a great year. Again, one loss during the regular season.
Give me a hell yeah!
Yeah, kudos to the Lady Terps, and just big things going on around the Maryland campus, man.
It's exciting. I mean, if all things come together the way that I know you and Ryan hope with the football program,
yeah.
I mean,
I'm not saying national championship.
No,
so let's go a little bit bigger in the bowl game.
But my point in saying that is Maryland starts to become a ultimate powerhouse.
Yeah.
In every facet. If we can get the basketball game working out a little bit better than it has been, the football game, it needs to step up. I think with this year, with a lot of the recruits and stuff, which I know you guys have been getting into on the Shell and Tell segments. So go check those out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. You can check out the Shell and Tell episodes as they break down some of these players. The countdown is back, by the way.
Yeah, started doing that countdown to kickoff, which is, I believe today will be 94 days until kickoff.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, hopefully you're out there. You got the 94th day post out there or going. I did not do that today. But, yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people really enjoyed that last year. A lot of these players that don't get talked about enough, they like a little bit of recognition too. So we try to do it in this, in a unique way.
Well, before we get into the Ravens, remember that team over at MD Crash? We've been telling you about them for the past 2 years, guys. I don't know why I have to keep doing this ad read and you not take anything away from it. You better, because they've expanded. Again, they've got more lawyers and they're handling a much broader spectrum of cases. They're handling all of your auto accidents and injuries and work injuries, of course, as they were before. But now the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon can help you with family law issues, from divorce to custody to child support, and even those criminal cases and traffic tickets, or maybe Fred committed murder while he was in Ocean City.
No,
I don't know.
No, I was fighting a puppy. I wasn't committing murders.
Hey, who knows? Maybe the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon can help you out on those cases like Johnny Depp's lawyers did. $15 million.
Good on Johnny Depp.
I know, right? But no, make sure you give them a call or text them 667-220-6500 anytime for any of your needs. Again, save that number and update your number in your phone. It's 667-220-6500. Call or text anytime to get the team at Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon on the case for you.
All right, fellas, it's time for some Flock Talk. And like I said, it's the second week of OTAs, which I'm over the attention that OTAs gets, hence the title here.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
You got to talk about it because obviously the things that matter during OTAs is kind of getting your first glimpse at some of these undrafted guys, some of the drafted guys, some of the new look faces that are in, figuring out the defense. Marcus Williams came in, so he's getting his first look into this defense. Those are the things I'm excited about. What I'm not excited to talk about is Lamar's absence. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later. I'm not excited to talk about that right now. But one of the things that I guess was a sight for sore eyes is we got to see our first look at J.K. Dobbins in a while. You saw him on the sideline with Marcus Peters in sweatpants hanging out. We saw Dobbins actually in the pool, running in place in the pool, which is good. So it's good to see that. I hadn't seen anything from J.K. Dobbins in quite some time.
Neither guy was limping. That was a key. That was a key to me. Neither guy was limping, looked comfortable.
Yeah.
And they appear to be taking it easy. Right. Taking it slow and coming back right.
Well, that was kind of part of the emphasis with the team and the changes they were making in the offseason this year was to, one, change the way that they were practicing to lessen the risk of injury. And I think they're going to err on the side of caution with some of these guys who are coming back from major injury, especially major contributors like this. These Marcus Peters and J.K. Dobbins are two of your key cogs that you're expecting to be a big part of this offense and defense this year. You want them back 100% healthy. You don't want any setbacks.
Yeah, you want them to be able to come in and be comfortable, and hopefully some of these guys will take a little bit of pressure off them. You mentioned Marcus Williams arriving, and he's coming in. the question mark was Chuck Clark. Obviously, Chuck Clark came out to OTAs,
Yeah.
and Marcus even said he's leaning on Chuck. He's trying to listen to Chuck and get in the culture. It's a culture shock. We've heard it now from every single Raven that comes from another team to the Ravens. It's a culture shock.
Yeah.
Things are done differently here. We're going to get into some of the things that they do differently with the rookies a little bit later, but it's different.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at. So to have a guy like him come in, say, look, I'm leaning on this guy that everybody was wondering, is he out the door? I think it just goes to show that whatever happened, we don't know, but it appears to be behind everybody.
Well, Chuck Clark he's not stupid. I mean, he's changing his representation, obviously, in preparation for if he does get traded, that it's in his best interest. So it's not completely gone yet, but kudos to Chuck Clark, man. I mean, for a guy who's, been facing a lot of, potential rumors of trades and that kind of thing, for him to still come up, show up day one of OTAs, I think speaks a lot to him and his character. And this is kind of the behavior I expect from Chuck Clark and what he's demonstrated every year he's been here.
Yeah.
The social media, I think, was just a small blip on the radar. It was an emotional reaction. And hopefully that's all it was. And that's the last thing we hear of it. I'd love to see Chuck Clark stay. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is a position that we have a little bit of depth at, and if we can get that back for some place like a wide receiver where we don't have a whole lot of depth, it would be nice. But we'll entertain that when that problem happens. But another thing, we talked about injuries, right, and players coming back a little too soon. We saw Nick Boyle come back last year after what was a pretty devastating injury to his leg. He didn't look like the Nick Boyle of old.
No.
He didn't have the speed. He didn't have the
missing a
strength.
step. Yeah.
He looked to me like he may have come back a little bit too early last year. But Giro in his press conference says he looks like a new guy this year, looks really good. Commended him for being at OTAs now. Again, this is another veteran who doesn't necessarily need to be there, but he's a guy who feels like maybe he's behind the 8 ball a little bit. They just drafted two tight ends, right? We know what they do. When they draft tight ends, they typically draft 2, and they always keep them in the fold. So is Nick Boyle's days numbered? I don't know. But the best thing for him to do is show up, show he is healthy, and show why they paid him the money to be the blocking tight end for this team.
Yeah, and hopefully, it translates. Look, you mentioned the 2 guys, and we're going to get into those guys later, but, they aren't looking bad themselves.
Right.
So that starts to... you're starting to see some of these spots. You're talking about the secondary. You're talking about the tight end group. You're starting to see some spots that you're going... There's going to be some real competition because there's no way we're carrying all these guys at all these spots. We can't.
And hopefully, knock on wood, that's what it comes down to, is a decision, competition, not, well, it's injuries. Thank God we have depth. Like, I want it to come down to the best players make the team because everybody's healthy, and we have to make some tough decisions at that point,
Yeah, and hopefully some of those guys we're able to stash. I mean, obviously we're only able to stash a few, but if we're able to stash some of these guys, I think are going to be fairly valuable down the road because they may just be 1 or 2 pieces away from being an impactful starter.
Right. Well, one of the positions that has been a question mark in Ravens flock fans for most of them is outside linebacker, the edge rushers, right? A guy that we saw a little bit of glimmer last year was a 4th-round pick out of Notre Dame and Dalen Hayes. We saw him in training camp last year. Look good. A lot of coaches said that some of his ability, his explosion, his ability to actually impact the rush and get into the backfield stood out more than they expected last year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his year was also cut short due to injury. Well, he's back.
I sense a theme.
He's back, and he seems to be picking up right where he left off last year because multiple reports of him being very active in the backfield, creating pressure. Yeah. I wanted to get your take on Dalen Hayes, Drew. What do you think about his chances of actually getting a decent amount of run with this team considering the lack of depth that we have there?
Yeah, it is interesting because, like you said, you're hoping he's not like an injury-riddled guy. I'm not putting that label on him yet. It's just it is a thing. Like,
too early.
Because it happened in training camp 2 weeks, so he didn't really get the reps in training camp as much because he kind of got hurt at the end and started the season injured. So that just to say, like, you hope that that's not a thing. But like I'm not worried. Like he wasn't a first-round talent. Like it is later on in the draft. So like I'm going to give him a little bit of a leash. Me myself, like let's see what he can do. Hopefully, like you said. like I said, keep it smooth, no injuries, and he can get all the reps in preseason games and training camp, and hopefully be a piece.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, my expectation is him to be a rotation piece. Can he, when he gets the opportunities, can he be impactful? The hope is we end up bringing Justin Houston back, right?
Yeah.
I think Justin Houston in this Mike McDonald defense paired along second year Odafe Owe, another year in the system.
Developed Odafe Owe, yes.
Right. You get a guy like Dalen Hayes into the mix who can keep Justin Houston healthy,
yeah.
keep him healthy and have energy, keep his stamina there, because he's taking reps away from Justin Houston, and let him be that pass rush specialist that he can be. Because again, having this secondary healthy is going to make a world of difference with these edge rushers, because they're not going to be able to get the ball out as quickly. Because our corners are back, our secondary's more lethal. These guys are going to be locking these receivers down, which is going to give those edge rushers more time. And if you can help that by keeping Justin Houston off the field a little bit and keep him fresh, that's only going to benefit things.
You have to. The other thing you have to look at with that is, with Mike McDonald, right? We talked about this when he came on board, and you were the one that kind of pointed it out. Was at Michigan, he ran a setup that was. It relied dependently on heavily dependent on the linebacker core.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of those things that to your point, if you can get that stance up front, you can get that pressure up front. That allows some of these guys, one guy which he named during the press conference, which is Patrick Queen, it allows him to kind of take it to the next level. You also can see a Dalen Hayes. We talked about the two of them kind of being paired at times. And if they're both out there, it would be crazy to see that, because they seemed like the tandem could be really dominant.
Right.
They could still do that. We need to see Dalen Hayes come back. But, Queen has Mike McDonald's attention, saying that the game is slowing down for him.
Yeah.
It's getting more comfortable. And that's what you want to hear for a guy that had some struggles. You made the move. He had improvement, clear improvement,
right?
But now you're saying the improvement's even more,
right? And the thing that you got to keep in mind with Patrick Queen, I know our expectations were super high with this kid because he was a first-round draft pick, and rightfully so, right? You realize Patrick Queen is actually younger than Odafe, right? It doesn't feel like that because Patrick Queen feels like he's been around for 4 or 5 years now.
Got 1 year as a starter at LSU.
Exactly, right? So he's still learning the game. He's still coming along. And then again, the defensive line, we got more athletic, we got more strength, we got quickness off the snap. I think we're going to see an improvement interior pass rush as well. So I think all those things are going to come together. The biggest, obviously, concern is keeping everybody healthy, and hopefully that's an issue we don't have to worry about this year.
Yeah. One thing that I know a lot of people are curious about, and it's not something that you're used to talking about during OTAs, but how's the punter doing? Jordan Stout.
Yeah.
And everything we're hearing is it's looking pretty good so far.
Chris Hewitt, the special teams coordinator, actually called him a triple threat because he's not just a punter. He's going to be the punter, he's going to be the holder, and he can actually be our kickoff specialist, which is only going to save Justin Tucker from having to do that, right? So you're getting multiple uses out of Stout, which is big. And if they're already raving about those things this early in camp before, Koch has really had a chance to wrap his arms around him as a coach and help develop him, this is only going to get better, which is a huge sign for things with the special teams.
It's definitely something that you want to see, you want to hear, especially when you say triple threat, like all I think about, especially the kickoff side of things and the way he's able to place punts.
Yeah.
Imagine having a kicker that can place, like, not that Justin Tucker can't,
right?
But if you can place and pin on kicks, that can change a game.
Absolutely. The one question about him, though, is how can he throw the football?
Yeah, we'll find out.
Sam Cook can throw the football.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. The Ravens, they always like to throw a little bit of trickery in there, and that's part of the game that I'm sure they're going to sorely miss, having that punter out there that can make an accurate throw like that on those 4th and 5 and 4th and 6 situations, just to get that extra first down and continue the drive.
In the inside, they probably got a trash can set up and have Cook throwing with him in competition. Okay, which one of us can get a trash can? Let's work on this.
Hey, that's literally the only reason they kept Cook around.
Yeah.
So you can teach him how to
Right, exactly.
teach him how to pass.
And if that's one of the things that he improves his game on, I'm good with it, right?
Gook says he did do a fake say at PSU and didn't look too bad.
All right.
Yeah,
well, that game can be improved even more. I like it, Googs. So we got to talk about the QB position. Let's talk about the quarterbacks that are here, not named Lamar.
I was going to say, so the ones not named Lamar. I got
Exactly.
It.
The
the ones that you can very easily mix up their last names.
Right, exactly.
Huntley and Huntley.
From a distance, they look very similar. Lamar Huntley, right? We got to talk about QB2. He's looked really good so far. Today, reports were that he had a 45-yard touchdown pass to Bateman, beating Williams in coverage, the new free safety that we brought in. So that's good for Huntley and Bateman. I don't know so much for Williams. It's OTAs, whatever. Take it for what it's worth. He did have a long touchdown pass to Josh Oliver, which is a guy that I know you talked a little bit about not getting a whole lot of opportunity last year.
I don't think he got as much as we would have liked to have seen him last year. But now,
and he could be the odd man out right now.
I was going to say, now you got that tight end room filling up again, and here we go again. The competition,
right?
You know, we were talking just a few minutes ago, and we didn't even bring up Josh Oliver, right? We didn't bring up Poljak.
Yeah, right.
That's the other guy, or Poljan. Sorry, Poljan.
Poljan, whatever.
There's no reason to know his name. We can't get it right now.
Yeah, right.
But
exactly.
at this point, if he's even on the roster, I don't even know if he's on the roster. And if he is on the roster, he's like tight end 7 at this point with all the tight ends that we have.
Yeah.
He's behind Jordan Stout. Jordan Stout's tight end 6.
Right. So Huntley, listen, I know a lot of people last year, we all kind of jumped on the Huntley train because I'll be honest with you, when he came in, he looked good, right? He didn't do anything for us to lose the games. The only thing that was missing is he didn't have that. Lamar has that special talent, that extra gear when things are tough, when they're down, he can take it up a notch or find another way to win a game or come back in a game. That was the only thing with Huntley that I didn't see yet is he doesn't have that extra gear. I think he's a very good QB2. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, well, he's going to end up getting a quarterback job somewhere. He's going to end up being a starter somewhere. Listen, there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Baker Mayfield can't find a team to go play for. Like, there's plenty of guys that are going to be above and ranked above Huntley that he's not going to be a QB1. I am really happy having a Tyler Huntley as a QB2 in this system, considering it's basically a seamless transition that if Lamar, God forbid, can't play or isn't here for whatever reason, Huntley can come in and fill in the offense seamless.
So I don't disagree at all, but here's what I would say about bringing in Brett Hundley. You bring in Brett Hundley, right? And
so this is the QB3 now, replacing basically Josh Johnson.
Right. So it replaces Josh Johnson, and ultimately, you know, if you look back,
Trace McSorley,
you know, in that sense. But you can't forget that we also were carrying Antoine Brooks. Or is it Anthony Brooks? I think it's Anthony Brooks. The kid that was out of Oregon that we signed, Anthony Brooks. So you've got now 4 guys that are helping you kind of go through the process.
Yeah. I think Brooks is
will be
more
a
like
practice squad guy.
Brooks is more like the Bahar, the Kenji Bahar. They kept bringing him in and out just because he was a familiar face with the system.
But let me throw something your way, right? I'm not saying it's going to happen, right? But let's look at why you bring in Hundley first, right? He's an 8-year veteran, right? He was a 5th-round pick by the Packers in 2015. Saw the most action of his career in 2017 when he had to come in for Aaron Rodgers and started in 9 games, went 3-6 with a 70.6 quarterback rating. He threw 9 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It's not pretty.
No.
Right?
Not good at all.
It's backup type situation, right? Clearly, or backup or less. The thing with him was he started against the Ravens, and this is why I think they got when he was out there, they were like, all right, let's do this. 2017, he faced the Ravens. He went 21 of 36 for 239 yards, 3 interceptions, in a 23-0 Baltimore win. Now, he didn't put anything down, but it was at Lambeau Field, and that was also one of the first games that he actually came into for Aaron Rodgers.
It was bad.
But
real bad.
At the same time, you also got to kind of look at it and say, okay, he's seen us. He's played here. He knows it. He's played against the Seahawks, or he's played for the Seahawks. He's played for the Cardinals. He's played for the Colts, right?
Are you trying to sell me on why Brett Hundley's a good choice for being a QB3 on this team? Because you're not doing a good job.
The reason I think they brought him in is I think there's going to be some definite entertaining with Tyler Huntley during the preseason. You're going to entertain a lot of phone calls.
So the only way that anything is entertained, again, is for a QB1 position. He is now QB2 solid lock.
100%,
There's no changing that. He's QB2. They're not, they're not going to trade him, or nobody's going to make a move for him to be QB2. It's a lateral move.
It's going to be a QB1, yeah.
He would be a QB1. So the only way that happens is if you get a team that gets riddled with injuries at the quarterback position and they're depth split. And it would have to be an offense that's similar to what the Ravens were doing, aka like the Cardinals or somebody like that down. There's not a whole lot of teams that I think Tyler Huntley would be a seamless fit to be able to come in right out of preseason and be a day one type of starter for them. It takes time for them to learn the offensive system.
And I definitely agree with that. I understand that. That's why I'm also thinking during the preseason, right? I'm not saying preseason game 4 all of a sudden trades happen, but I think you're going to see after preseason game 1, he's going to get the majority of the snaps. It'll be him and Huntley. Maybe Brooks gets a few, but I think it'll be the two of them. And ultimately, if it comes down to it, there's a lot of teams that don't know who their quarterback is this year.
But there's better options out there. You got Jimmy G, who still needs to be traded or find a home. You've got Baker Mayfield, who needs to be traded. The Browns do not want to eat that contract. Regardless of what happens with Deshaun Watson, even if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for the entire year, Baker Mayfield's not coming back and be like, okay, I'll suit up and play. Like, he's not playing.
It's not happening.
He's done with Cleveland. So he's got to be moved, right? I just think that if that situation were to open itself where a team gets an injury, and needs a quarterback, there's going to be better options than Tyler Huntley.
I'm not saying there's not better options, but do you think the cost would be cheaper for that team?
Well, yeah. I mean, Huntley's going to be much cheaper under the cap.
Huntley proved he is a serviceable quarterback being thrown in last year.
I'm not saying it's not.
Right. So my point with that is I agree with you. Jimmy G, Baker, but at the same time, if I can go get somebody that was actually doing really well compared to the other two names, I mean, Jimmy G, yes, the injuries, he's getting older. That's what teams are going to look at. If I can have a young guy come in and be able to do,
he's like 45. So I'm kidding.
We're really doing this.
No,
Didn't we do this once in New England?
I'm kidding.
But no, my whole point is I think it's interesting that they bring in. Given that you have Brooks, I think it's interesting that you bring in Huntley.
I think it's a camp body. I think, yes, the Ravens will probably carry 3 quarterbacks, and maybe that is Huntley, and he ends up being a practice squad stash. You'll see them elevate him, on days that maybe Lamar's questionable and that kind of thing. Josh Johnson was QB3 once Trace McSorley left, right?
Right.
And I think that he'll fill that role. I don't think this has any impact on Tyler Huntley or Tyler Huntley potentially being traded. I think Huntley is a QB2, and unless he gets a bigger sample size, which nobody here in Baltimore hopes that that's a reality, to show that he can actually be and win games, because he didn't win. As much as he kept us in games, his defense didn't give him
a chance to win either.
I get that. As much as he kept us in games and his statistics were okay, above what I would expect from a QB2 finally getting an opportunity, right? He hadn't played a whole lot. They were better than I expected, but he didn't win any games.
You're not selling your point.
Saying he didn't win any games. The only way I see him ending up with a QB1 job is with a bigger sample size where he proves that he can win, and then a team will say, all right, now it's time to make a move. But again, I don't think that happens.
Fair enough. Again, I'm throwing the idea out there of why they bring him in, and I do think they're going to field phone calls. I think teams are going to wind up calling because either somebody's going to get hurt. It happens every year. It's bound to happen. Some quarterback gets hurt early in the season.
Yep.
And even if it's early in the season, I think people would be picking up the phone because he's a cheaper option. He's going to cost you less than it would for a Baker or a Jimmy G. That's my thoughts.
Okay. All right. So you had mentioned earlier about the Ravens Wired segment debuting this year. Tell us a little bit about what you saw. I saw most of it. I didn't see all of it. So what was your takeaways?
So it's pretty good. So there's a few things that I thought it was interesting to see. One, it was exciting to see some of the hype that when they showed the video of these guys seeing their jerseys for the first time. I can't even imagine walking in and practicing doing these things your entire life, and now here you are at the highest level.
Yeah.
Right? And to then see your name on the back of a jersey.
It's every kid's dream. If you played rec football, rec baseball, anything, you had dreams. You had aspirations. I don't care for shit how bad you were. You had aspirations when you're playing in the backyard of potentially being a pro player, of NFL player, MLB player. And for those 1 in a million, It actually happens.
And Kyle Hamilton is one of those guys, right? Kyle Hamilton came up and he basically said, I've always seen my name on a high school jersey, a Pee Wee jersey, a high school jersy, college. Now I'm here. Yeah. My name's on a jersey.
That's one of my, I think for me.
But he said it with a smile on his face.
Oh, right. Yeah, and I know a lot of people have been criticizing him because he doesn't show a whole lot of emotion, but that's just who the dude is.
Yeah.
But that for me, I'd like seeing those videos, those guys like first turning around and seeing their jersey for the first time. Like,
Falele was shaking.
That's really cool, man. I love that. Like seeing how the emotion response behind it. You know, they call their parents and show it to them on the FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. This is a really cool moment. Again,
by the way, Drew, that's when you have an iPhone and you can look at somebody through video to another one. Mr. Android over
Android dig. Yeah, to me, that's just a really cool moment because, again, you've worked your entire life to be there. And even when you're drafted, I'm sure it hits you. But for me, I feel like the first time you put that jersey on, the first time you step on a field, that's when you're like, holy shit, I'm here. Like this happened. I am here. I am in the NFL right now. And I'm sure the next time is when the first paycheck hits your account. I'm sure that's a real good feeling too.
Exactly. No, and that was one of the things that Kyle Hamilton really didn't talk about. Like he was talking about, like he's really a guy that's here. He's happy to be here. He described himself as tactical, thoughtful, self-critical, dominant, and works all over the field. Right?
I like it.
It's exactly why they drafted him. I did find it funny, Greg Roman, when he's talking, they brought all the guys or getting on the practice field. He's talking to his other coaches. He goes, guys, it's Christmas morning, guys, and we got some presents.
And he's right, because I mean, you think about it, right? As a offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, right? Every year you're tasked with, just like a salesperson, right? You're tasked with growth year in and year out, right? If you're given the same talent, you're given the same pool, there's only so much that you can do. When they get these guys, the free agent signings, or they get these draft picks, now they got new tools in the shed that they can work with, new plays that they can pull out of their vault and use for, these new players and stuff. I'm sure that the coaches do get excited about that because then they can do things that they just haven't been able to do before. Yeah,
and I think it was funny too. They also described that Greg describes to the coaching staff this first rookie mini camp. They coming out and they're seeing them for the first time. Greg Roman says this is putting the first coat of paint on them. It's getting them used to, here's what it's like.
The speed of the game.
The speed, exactly. Yeah. And it was great to see too. As much shit as I've given Greg Roman personally, I thought it was really cool in this rookie minicamp Wired session to see him pull some of these top guys aside on the offensive side of the ball and really kind of talk to them and give them. He talked to Likely, he talked to Batty, he talked to Linderbaum, just giving them feedback of things that you have to do at this level. Yeah. Right. And so the other thing I found was interesting was this Wired session. You know what it gave me vibes of? Think HBO.
Hard Knocks. Yeah.
Sitting down in a meeting, talking. Okay, who do you like? Right? We heard some of that in this Wired video.
Right.
Again, Ravens are the best at what they do.
Yeah. So not only did I watch the Ravens Wired, but I also saw a video, somehow came up on my feed, of the Steelers doing OTAs. They had Kenny Pickett out there, right? One of the things that I noticed that they do, I don't know if the Ravens do this or not, but I thought it was kind of cool. It's kind of an old school feel to it. It's got that throwback feel to it, is like with the rookies, even the high draft picks like Kenny Pickett, their name tags like over their locker.
Yeah.
It's handwritten. They get the bare bones of everything. They got to earn their stripes.
I like that.
Per se. It's not just because you're a first round pick, I'm not giving you all, you're not starting at the top.
Smart.
You're starting at the bottom to get to the top, right? So it's layers to it. I don't know if the Ravens do that or not. I would think that would be a really cool way to make players really work for certain things and certain tasks to get these things. I know it's small, but
it's small, but like one of the small things that the Ravens do that's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum is for the players. They are one of the only team, if not the only team, to actually do a rookie mini camp picture.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's the rookie class.
That's a hardball thing. Yeah.
It's a hardball thing, but like he basically said, look, we're gonna make sure all of you guys go home with this.
Yeah,
or get one of these. It's
like your
small.
Class photo,
right? But it's small. But that's just you were being looked at as an NFL, candidate, right? That's kind of what that feels like. And so that's where you got to kind of take a step back. But I did want to ask you, was there anything in those meetings as they were kind of, especially as G-Row was kind of breaking down some of the players or some of the position groups, was there anything that stood out to you or any player or any comments that stood out to you during that Wired segment?
I would say for me, it was probably the running backs coach talking about the kid Tyler Batty, the new running back that we got in I think fifth round. Sixth round. Yeah. So this was a kid that, in the SEC, in a tough conference, one of the best, if not the best conference in college football, put up big numbers. His name kind of went under the radar. Not a whole lot of scouts were talking about him, but the measurables are there. He put up good numbers at the combine, at his pro day. And again, when you watch him on tape, he does pop. And they said he moves well, sees the hole well. He's got the type of skills you'd want for a set of a guy that could go out and play a 1 or a 6 and picks it up easily. He's pretty sharp. Those are all the things that you like to hear about a running back. I know he's got very sure hands. He can catch the ball out of the backfield really well. They were talking about that today after OTAs. He caught everything his way. And when you talk about a running back core that was depleted by injuries last year, when you get down to RB3, RB4, that's what you need. That's the kind of depth that you need. And I really do think that, and I know Ryan's going to be happy with this, I think Justice Hill's days could be numbered if everybody comes back healthy.
I think they are too. And one of the
things, early. I know it's early, and this is just an early report, but I mean, it's just, I'm excited about what this kid can do.
Well, one of the things that was interesting about that, I talked about those guys that he was pulling aside, and that was Tyler was one of the guys that he pulled aside, and he was talking to him and said, how's your pass protection? You're at this level. You're at this level. You're a running back. I expect you to carry the ball and carry the rock.
You've been doing that your whole life.
Right. You've been doing that your whole life. I expect you to block, and basically told him what to expect. You better not get run over on my offense by a linebacker.
See, I like that. I like that. Again,
as I said, I gained a little bit of respect through this Wired, probably strategically done by the Ravens.
Watch what you say. We're live.
It's probably strategically done by the Ravens. But I like what I saw. There were some things that I was kind of going, it seems to me to be a different side than we've seen of Greg Roman before, or we've heard about Greg Roman. So I actually really love this. To me, I think on the flip side, going to the outside, the one thing that stood out to me was really what T. Martin had to say about the wide receiver core that was there for rookie minicamp.
Which has been a big question mark.
And he was asked about it, and that was one of the first groups they talked about. And he basically said, "Look, Bridges is most impressive up to right now because the guy
undrafted guys.
So the guy just picks things up. Now, Shamar Bridges is the undrafted free agent out of Fort Valley State, but he's 6'4", 207 pounds.
Yeah." Ryan's going to like that
That's
guy.
a Ryan-sized receiver.
Yeah. I think they have two guys. They got one that's 6'4" and one that's 6'5". They got two big boys at wide receiver right now.
And Shamar apparently really picking things up. Looked good in some of the videos that they showed of him. Good, look-wise, right, with the dreads and everything. As he was running, I was like, I had to double take. I was like, was that Hopkins? Look-wise.
Wow.
Look-wise, he had a catch and a clean release.
Yeah.
Looked good. Not saying he's comparable by any means, but you had to double take because it was just smooth like that, right? It was smooth like hop. So the other thing that they talked about is he said the other guy, and he didn't even skip a beat before he finished the statement about Bridges, that he says, and Slade is bright too. Slade just gets it. Talk about Slade Bolden.
So you talk about Slade Bolden, a kid that comes out of Alabama, right? And we talked about the SEC. Well, he comes from the cream of the crop of the SEC.
Yeah.
I know he didn't get a whole lot of run at Alabama because, I don't know, they had 10 fucking top 1 picks ahead of him on the depth chart for this entire time he was there. But it's a kid that went up against the best of the best as far as cornerbacks in practice every day. Yeah. He again had top elite talent above him that he was learning from. So if he can come in and kind of just use that to his advantage in the NFL, he could carve out a role in this team.
Show off, show out. In some of the videos you watch him go, and I know it's early, but he's going across the middle like it was nobody's business.
He seems to me, just again, this is I don't know a whole lot about him, just the little bit that I've picked up on from his character and some of the things that he says, he is a I'll do whatever you ask me to coach kind of guy.
Yeah.
And that's what this team needs. Again, if you're talking about a wide receiver 5 or a wide receiver 6 on this squad, you better be doing special teams. You better be doing everything that you possibly can to get in Harbaugh's good graces and to be on this team. And then when you get the opportunity on the field on Sunday, take advantage of it. Not like fucking Miles Boykin, who fucking didn't show up when the spotlight was his brightest. Slade Bolden, to me, seems like a guy that just give him a chance.
Isaiah likely needs to turn that number around.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. It's awful.
Last week, we talked about Kyle Fuller kind of coming on. Well, you kind of were talking before the show that they were, some of the details of the deal came out and really what the value is in this deal.
Yeah, so obviously Kyle Fuller, he might not be what he was when he was first drafted into the league, but he doesn't need to be that guy. He doesn't need to be cornerback 1. He doesn't even need to be cornerback 2 if we get everybody back healthy, right? He needs to be a rotation guy, a piece guy, a guy that can play inside and outside, right? So this was, to me, a no-brainer signing for the Ravens. And again, to get him on this kind of a deal, the details of his contract finally came out. It's a $2.5 million contract for 1 year. The signing bonus is 1.3. The base salary is 1.1. The cap charge is 2.5. Again, for a guy who was an all-pro, a guy who was a Pro Bowl player, and he doesn't need to be an every down player in this defense, I think is going to go very well for this team to give them that added depth and security.
There's talent there.
Yeah.
That's the key, right? And they're recognizing it, but
still
they're not going to
squeeze some
overpay
juice
for it.
out of that lemon?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things that you're looking to do. So to get him at $2.5 million, it's not a bad deal. It's not a bad situation.
So
to be in.
Googs brought up my next point. He did pick, you took the words right out of my mouth. He did pick his number today. So his number when he was at Denver and he was at Chicago was 23. In college at Virginia Tech, he was number 17. 17's gone. I think an undrafted free agent took that, or one of the rookies took it. I don't remember. But he ends up going with 18, which is a weird number for a cornerback. Usually you don't see like the ones, like the teens. You don't see that on a cornerback. It's going to be weird to see that, but everybody's about being unique and being their own guy and whatever. I don't give a shit what his jersey number says. Come in, play football, be good on the field. That's all I care about. And I think this is another very good value dumpster dive kind of move for EDC.
Yeah, it just made sense, and it gives you that added depth. And one of the guys that didn't come back was, or that came back but wasn't fully out there and active. We talked about seeing Marcus Peters. Marlon Humphrey was out there and active during OTAs this week.
Right.
Marcus, not so much. So if something happens with Marcus, he needs to slow down a little bit in rehab, whatever it may be. This just provides you that added insurance policy, and it's very cheap.
Drew, what's your opinion on the secondary adding a piece like Fuller to the depth?
I mean, he's, from what I can remember, I mean, he's a pretty healthy guy too. Like,
yeah, he had 1 year he missed because of a knee injury. Other than that, he never missed anything.
Especially the recent
history,
of a few years. To me, it's like I can see him being he's. Clearly, it's easy to see that he's filling the Jimmy Smith role.
Yeah.
And that was our problem with Jimmy Smith. Like, when he's on the field, we feel at least confident as long as he's not, like, the number one guy, obviously. If he's the third guy to those other two, then, like I said, as long as he's on the field, unlike, for the most part, Jimmy was, then it's a complete win because you're only asking so much out of him unless shit hits the fan, which we don't want anyway.
Right, exactly. All right, so we got to talk about it. I don't want to talk about this, so I'm going to let you kick this off and let you and Drew kind of go on your rants about this because this is honestly a topic that I really don't care to talk about or entertain.
All right, well, I'll ask you a question later. That'll see if it'll get your vibe up a little bit. So Lamar obviously not being at OTAs, and Chris Sims, we all know Chris Sims. He's a prick in anything that he says.
He was a terrible quarterback in the NFL, FYI.
Yeah, well, he's also a tail.
His father was a very good quarterback. He was awful.
He's also a terrible guy in the media as well. He just sucks. He's been a problem multiple times.
I hope his spleen's all right still.
Yeah, right. But he said that Brady wouldn't be missing OTAs in year 4 of his career. Brady didn't miss an OTA until he played 4 Super Bowls. Well, Lamar clapped back.
Which is cool to see Lamar do because, again, Lamar's
been doing it more.
He's been a little bit more talkative and chatty through social media than normal.
You made me.
So he comes back and he says, hey, Lamar wants to be Lamar, Chris. This part of OTAs is voluntary, my guy. I will be there, just not on your watch. It's probably other QBs not attending voluntary OTAs either, but since it's Lamar, it's a huge deal. Find something else to talk about. And then he put the tweet there, and then he put another tweet after that was tagging his training coach with rocket fire, i.e., that's some rocket fuel.
And listen, I know he puts in the work. He puts out the social media posts on it all the time. You see him putting in the work, and he does. Yeah. He has his own training staff and coaching staff that he works with in the offseason.
We've seen the videos.
And obviously it's helped him. It's improved. Like his passing from where he was as a rookie to what it is now is much improved. So this is why I don't think this is a story. Like, okay. I understand that. Is it ideal for him to not be here and not be getting work with some of these new wide receivers, the undrafted guys, that kind of thing? I understand that part of it. But the bigger picture here is, well, he could come in here and it be a national story the next day because he gets hurt. And then everybody's like, oh, what the fuck? Why do you got Lamar running around in OTAs for? Why'd you run the risk? And now Lamar's done for a year. So the script turns real quick. Now it's John Harbaugh's an idiot. It's 2 years in a row. He had J.K. Dobbins running in the fucking preseason, and we lost him for the year. Now you got Lamar Jackson running around in the OTAs. Now you lost him for the year. The fucking narrative will change really quick. And the only reason this is a narrative is because it's Lamar fucking Jackson that pisses me off. It's why I don't want to talk about it. Sorry.
Okay. He went on his rant before I was able to throw it to you, Drew. Drew, any thoughts?
All right.
Any thoughts on this Sims and Lamar clapping back? And then I'm going to poke the bear again.
Fuck Chris Sims. That's all I need to say about Chris Sims. With me on the Lamar thing, like I kind of, when the first week of OTAs, like for a couple days, I kind of wanted him to be there, and I kind of did feel like he should. Then, like the more I thought about it, like. No matter what the guy does, like somebody, you're gonna have something to say. Like, and it's crazy how like decent of a nice guy he is to get all this like negative attention just for no reason. There's got to be some reason people have in their heads. Well, that's for a conversation for another day.
It's pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah. So at this point, though, I'm more pissed off that he's not there because I have to hear all this riffraff from national media. The way Ravens fans and Ravens Twitter has become. Me personally, at this point, I don't blame him because, like we were talking about before the show, all you gotta do is step wrong, and there you go. He tore his Achilles. Why was he at voluntary?
You're being asked a question, and that question is, who's worse, Drew? Ooh. Chris Sims or Buster Olney?
I got to steal it now. It's still Olney. No, fuck that guy. Even worse. You can't throw me off. Because it really, like, it does come down to me, it's voluntary. And it is. It's like, okay, Mahomes and Allen and Brady and Rodgers are out doing this match tonight or what? It's tonight, right?
Yeah.
Why did that have to be scheduled in the middle of OTAs?
Right.
Like, did those, you know what I mean? And I don't want to hear, don't come back at me with this, oh, well, they're veterans, they earned it. Josh Allen ain't done shit compared to Lamar. Sorry.
He hasn't.
He got the contract first. That's all it was.
That's literally it.
That's what we were saying.
Yeah.
So, that's why I get, like, and I don't care. Okay, then you can clap back, well, he was here this week, and he's going to be on Beck. No. You can't have it one way or the other. If you're happy a guy shows up to OTA, then he should be at every single day of OTA.
Right.
So, no, at this point, I'm kind of glad that he's not there because then it's one less situation where he could get hurt. Anybody could get hurt. I know that's kind of a pointless thing, but it gets to be the mandatory ones and the training camps. When you're holding out of those, then I'm worried, and maybe my opinion changes. Right. But for voluntary, that's the word, voluntary.
The only thing I'll say is, and this is a good thing for Lamar, because it was, 2 years ago that we saw him before OTAs run into a jet ski on the beach.
Yeah.
Then last year it was running routes with kids on a fucking concrete basketball court, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't seen that this year. So thankful for that. Like you say, anybody could get hurt doing anything. So he could get hurt fucking eating bonbons and a ho-ho. Who knows?
He could get hurt during his training that he's got going on right now, though.
Right. No, I agree with that. But my point is,
don't put that thought in people's heads.
My point is,
have to feel that negativity.
My point is, if the Ravens put pressure on Lamar to show up, Lamar shows up unwillingly, but he shows up, and then they ask him to run around and do all these drills, and then he gets hurt there, quickly the narrative changes to what the fuck do you have your star quarterback who's in his contract year running around in a bullshit OTA session, and now you've lost him for the year. It would flip very, very quickly.
I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. So this is just really, again, me, as I always do, playing a little bit devil's advocate, trying to poke the bear a little bit, right? Just to trying to give everybody the other side, because I do agree with you guys, but I tried to do a little bit of looking at the other side, and I get some of the fans aspect, honestly, of some of the concerns, right? What is the one thing that we've said is that he needs to develop? He needs to develop a rapport, a chemistry with his receivers.
I agree.
We know he did it with Bateman. This is your chance to do this with some of these younger guys and give them the chance. Chemistry doesn't have to come in the form, and this is where I disagree with you guys. He can show up OTAs, and just as they're voluntary, he can say, I'm going to be there, but I'm not going to be active. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to come for a little bit of time, and then I'm going to go there. To me, I get not being there. He's going to focus on him. He's going to focus on what's being there.
If the point is to show face and be there and not do anything, I'd rather him not be there and working with his quarterback coach that is helping him develop.
You'd rather him not be looking at the books and looking at the
You look at the books anywhere.
You'd rather him not look at the books with his receivers, with those guys, be able to pull a guy aside. Lamar is a leader, like it or not. Lamar's a leader on the field. If he sees something out of a running back, out of a wide receiver, would you not want your quarterback saying, I would probably do this here? I think you should turn inside. No, I think you should adjust.
I'm not,
he's missing.
I'm not pushing back on your point. I understand the negatives to it. Like I'm not saying that it's 100% fine for him to not be here. Is it ideal? No. Like I said, I'd prefer him to be here, but I'm not going to lose my shit over Lamar Jackson missing OTAs.
Okay, and that's my point. That's what I'm trying to get at.
It's a very fine line. Everybody is either like completely against it, like no, he doesn't need to be here, or completely for it, and there's no in the middle. And I just feel like I would prefer him to be here, but if he's not, it's not a big deal.
No, and I get that's what I'm saying is I get that it's voluntary, right? And that's one of the things that's there. But there's an aspect to it that some people look at, right or wrong, right? Right or wrong, perception is reality, correct?
Yeah.
To some people, this appears, if you go read the comments on Twitter, what Sims was saying, it appears selfish. Not saying my words are, it is not. But it appears that way because he's saying, I'm doing this so that I can work on me. You can still work on you at the facility.
Yeah, I get that. And I think
people.
I would be upset, I don't know, if I saw him carrying a 300-pound buffalo on his back hunting like, I don't know, Derek Wolf is doing. Right. Or some of these other people that are out there doing.
How's his back, by the way?
Yeah,
I'd be upset if he was out there playing golf in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
Right now. He could be with the team.
Exactly. That's my point. But if he is.
He did play golf 3 weeks ago.
But it wasn't during OTAs.
I know.
Right.
I'm just saying.
If he's putting in the work with his trainer and that's the preferred route for him and the coaching staff is okay with that, why are we to question it?
I think that's what's the bigger story is the coaching staff, just the way they've addressed it.
I think they're tired of answering it. I think they're tired of being asked it. And I think they're to this point like, well, fuck it. If you're going to want to ask the question, ask Lamar. I'm done. I'm done answering it. I don't think they're mad that he's not there. Trust me, if they were mad that he wasn't there, they would have that conversation with Lamar. And I don't think Lamar's the kind of guy, and I don't know him, but I just don't feel like he'd be the kind of guy to be like, fuck you, I'm showing up when I show up. He's not that kind of guy. He'll be there. Like right now, he doesn't have to be there because there's no pressure on him to be there. That's my point.
You're saying that's his mentality to the team,
right?
Okay, yeah. I thought I was going to say if you're saying his mentality to everybody else is I'll show up when I show up.
I'm saying
that's literally what he said to Chris Sims. So that argument kind of goes out the door for me. If you're saying that now, he's not saying that to the team.
He's not going
on
Chris Sims' watch. Is what he was saying.
Right, and I get that. That's what I'm saying. I wanted to pull that out and make sure that we were on the same page from that aspect.
So if he's at mandatory, the mandatory one coming up, should we just like the voluntary one didn't matter. Like, what were we complaining about?
No, I mean,
that's what it comes down to. There's still plenty of time to build that rapport. To me, training camp is far more important.
Jacob, exactly.
Running around in shorts in June 1st. That's the That's the rapport I want you to build up. There's still plenty of time to do that.
And I'm not disagreeing with you guys. And to your point, yes, it's the mandatory ones. If he holds out there or something, he doesn't show up there. whatever, then yeah, 100% agree with you guys. I would be concerned. But here, for me, I'm just kind of saying, like, there is a chance that he's missing out on something for himself and for the team.
So Jacob brings up, he says, if he struggles early in the season, people will look back and say that he should have been at OTAs. Book it. That is the problem with being Lamar Jackson. No matter what Lamar Jackson does, if something doesn't end in Super Bowl wins, they will find a reason to tear him down for why that didn't happen. It was just like 14-2 wasn't enough because they got booted in the first round of the playoffs. You win a first round of the playoffs, you lose in the second round, that wasn't enough.
And no one wants to point out that he got a concussion. And
exactly.
didn't have a chance to make a comeback.
Exactly. It will never be enough for Lamar Jackson. And unfortunately, that is the narrative and that is the situation that he will have to live with for the rest of his life because that is society.
He's also going to be compared to everyone. When you make the statement,
we all know why it exists.
Right. When you make the statement, I want to be the Tom Brady of Baltimore, you're going to start being compared to Tom Brady, right or wrong. It's a different player, it's a different game, it's a different, everything. The whole point of Chris Sims and taking that statement that he made a step further, he also made the statement that Brady had been to 4 Super Bowls before he decided not to go to OTAs. I think what his point in that statement was, right or wrong, you should have learned because that time that Brady didn't go to OTAs, those teams didn't look so hot. Not saying there's a direct connection, but that's what he was going at. That's what he was going after. Right or wrong, that's what I think is happening is when you make the comparison, you give everybody else the freedom too. I like Lamar. I think I'm playing devil's advocate here because it sounds.
That's the point of the show. We got to have some banter back and forth.
You don't want us to go.
We don't have James here this week.
Yeah.
To say
I agree.
Fred's point spot on. Moving on. Next time.
Exactly.
I'm not going to pull James.
You know how short this show would be sometimes.
I know exactly. Go ahead, Drew.
like the conversation with Hyde last week. Like it's kept on going. No, just one last dig at Chris Sims. Like,
take it while you can.
Take it while you can. One last. I don't pay attention to anything from a failed quarterback that didn't have any kind of success whatsoever.
Exactly.
About coming to an OTA. You didn't even. How many OTAs did you even make it to?
Right.
3? Like, is that how many? You know what I mean? Like, at least I sometimes and like that the guy sitting next to Florio could add to it worse.
Right.
So there you go, Googs. It isn't the question. Is Sims or Olney worse? For me, is Olney or Florio worse?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
times.
All right, Drew, it is time for a social media shout out. Who has been in the chat room chatting it up tonight?
A little bit quiet tonight, but still the comments are still pretty damn good.
Nice.
So we got Stephanie Summers was first.
Hey-o, Stephanie, good to see you back in the chat room. Haven't seen you in a while.
Beat the husband by like 10 seconds.
There it is.
Pop Fiend, Jake Craig, Googs really chiming in tonight. Adit, Jacob Paul, Jared Green, Justin Marshall, Vinny Figs. I'm not calling you Figueroa. I just feel like saying Vinny Figs.
Vinny Figs. I like it.
I watched Goodfellas the other
I
day.
watched Goodfellas last night.
Yeah, man. I'm not
Rip
gonna
Ray Liotta.
And Robert Sloan. So the question that Vinny just asked, is it fair that Lamar's getting criticized and Josh Allen has not gotten the same criticism for not being in a Super Bowl, but he got paid already?
And that's kind of what we were saying a little bit ago is that we obviously know why Lamar Jackson is criticized and Josh Allen isn't criticized. I mean, it's an ongoing problem that has been a problem for Lord knows how long, since the beginning of time, right? Is it fair? Absolutely not, right? But what do you do to change it? And unfortunately, that's just the way Lamar Jackson's career is always going to be. He will always be questioned on everything that he does. And there are just certain quarterbacks that are held in a higher regard. It's unfair. Ever since he's come up, the running quarterback thing, he should be a wide receiver, he should be a running back, he should be all these things. It has never stopped, even after winning an MVP at the quarterback position. If that doesn't stop the narrative, it'll never stop. The goalpost will continue to be moved based on whatever the topic is.
So Googs had a nice little point. perhaps Fuller maybe Fuller is kind of like what we did with Wolf a couple of years ago. Bring him in, you never know. Like next thing you know, he's really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolf again in his first year with the team was a big added bonus. And what was crazy about the Wolf situation and how it played out is Wolf seemed really bought into Baltimore. He wanted to be here, and he wanted to be in this defensive system, and he did, a very good job in his first year. But it seems like something's changed with him in his, in his mentality. I don't know if it's the look of the defense. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. You don't know what's said in those coaches' meeting rooms.
Who knows?
Those I don't know. But things have changed over the past couple of years. I know he's been dealing with injuries, but again, he's got a back injury, but he was carrying a 300-plus pound buffalo on his back that he was hunting the other day. This is the second time I've seen something like this from him. I mean, a guy with a back injury shouldn't be carrying a 300-pound buffalo. I couldn't carry a 300-pound buffalo without a back injury, right?
Yeah,
don't sell yourself short. I think
but something has changed with him. But I do agree with you. I think this Fuller signing is very similar to that in its value.
Yeah, and then one last thing. Sadly, right before the show, that I didn't look into it yet, but Marion Barber passed away.
Yeah, I saw that comment pop up, and Scott at Google search. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so apparently he was found dead in his apartment. He was 38 years old. They're not giving a cause of death at this moment, but they're saying someone called because of a water leak. And then he was found in the apartment. So not sure exactly what's going on. They're gonna look at his death, assess what happened, and kind of go from there.
God, but that sounds like was it Demaryius Thomas that we found in a bathtub too? He had like a seizure or something in a shower. Something like that. Yeah. Sounds similar to that. Golly.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace to Marion Barber, man. He was a
staple with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
a little bit.
And he was kind of around that time when fantasy football was starting to get bigger and bigger. It was when it became more of a national thing that it did just a bunch of guys.
When you could look on websites and not in a magazine.
Not in a magazine, exactly, right? So Marion Barber had a very good career, in his time with Dallas. That's sad news, man. It's way too young, 38 years old. Golly,
yeah.
That's awful.
It's crazy to see.
And R.I.P. to Ray Liotta, Shoeless Joe. If you're,
Shoeless Joe, Henry Hill, he's played in a lot of different things.
The Goodfellas, is a great movie and all, but I will always, will always remember him as Shoeless Joe. It's just that's the family movie. It's what I watch all the time. I could quote that movie from start to finish.
I think we all probably could.
Yeah, it's sad.
Shoeless Joe didn't bet on the 1919 World Series.
Oh God, don't get him started.
Ray Liotta might have.
Ray Liotta definitely did.
Jesus Christ!
Rest in peace to Ray, man. That's sad news.
Vinny Figs is actually apparently his nickname.
I mean, you have to be.
There you go.
All right, man. It's time for some bros, bows, and O's. I can't get more excited week in and week out to talk some Oriole baseball. And it's been a while since I've felt this way.
Yeah.
Teams now 21-30 overall. You would
Which
think.
sounds weird to say you're excited,
I'm excited
but there's a lot
about
of little things to get
excited
about.
I'm excited about it. 20 with 9 games under 500. What are we talking about here? They went 1-for-3 on the road against the Yankees up in New York. They went 3-2 in a 5-game series, including a doubleheader versus the Red Sox this weekend. They end up going 14-16 on the month in May, which is a pretty damn good month. They had one win away last night. They ended up getting blown out 10-0.
Yeah.
One win away last night from breaking even and being 500 on the month, but very good month for the Orioles.
It was, and Friday it was on the national stage as the Orioles took on the Red Sox at Fenway on Apple TV Plus.
I was going to say it was on an Apple TV broadcast, so I didn't get to watch it because I had other things going on. But I went back and watched some of the highlights of it. Some of the camera angles were kind of cool on that broadcast.
That's what I said. I was impressed at times with how the presentation was.
Yeah.
It looked good.
That's a way, those types of things, those types of changes to the visual aspect, for me, I think is how you make a younger audience more intrigued with the game. I know it's silly. It just feels like the camera angles have been traditional and have been the same forever. Has high definition gotten better? Yes. But those close-up shots of a guy running around home, you see it in the All-Star games, right? You see it in the home run derby where they're right up in the batter's box and that kind of thing. I know you can't do it on a live pitch. That would be ridiculous. But those camera angles, those guys are running around the bases on a home run and you're right in the guy's face as he's slapping the third base coach's hand. It's cool.
You know what I'd love to see? And they didn't do it there, but it just got me thinking about different camera angles and stuff. After the balls hit, I'd love to see a drone just take off behind the ball. Imagine
That would be amazing.
Imagine seeing a new shot from a home run like that.
Have you ever watched some of these professional
Oh, my
drones?
God, they're
They
amazing.
are ridiculous with how accurate they are and how fast they are. It's pretty amazing.
It's
so people
amazing,
can do it.
right? So that's what I'm saying. Like seeing something like that, they can do it. There's people who can do it. It just got me thinking about different camera angles and making it look. The other thing that I love that I was hoping to see in this game but didn't, and I think they need to do it especially when it's nationally televised games. One of them needs to be mic'd up that can talk at times and they can
So
turn
they
it on.
didn't do
off.
that?
No.
Man, so that's another thing that they do in the All-Star games. And they've done it a little bit on
They
like
did it
the
during-
Sunday night baseball and stuff like that. They'll
Here
talk to
or
some
there,
of the players.
yeah.
It's rare, but that is definitely another aspect of the game that I like. Or just even having them mic'd up and having somebody monitor that mic the entire game. And if you hear something funny, you go back and listen to
Play it on the clip out.
Exactly. As they're getting ready to come off the field for
Right.
the inning or whatever, listen to Adley run. Because one of the things I've heard about Adley Rutschman is, we all know that he goes up to the pitcher in between every inning and he, talks to him about whatever he talks to him about. But he always tries to change it up, and he actually does things that he tries to get the pitchers to laugh and loosen up and stuff. I'd love to hear what those fucking conversations
Exactly,
are.
right?
Yeah, I'd
And
love to hear what he says.
That's the type of stuff that would be cool. But let's look at the game itself, right? Because they were down 6-0 at the end of the third. It was not a good start to this game.
Right.
And by the end of the sixth, it was 8-2. Then the Orioles put up 10 unanswered
Hey, what's up, Mark?
runs
Good to see you in the chat room.
in a comeback to win 12-8. Again, Bradish got roughed up early, but this team, I said it 2 weeks ago. I said it 3 weeks ago. I said it last week. This team has no quit in them. They have so much. They may be down, but they never feel like they're out.
Right.
Even in that 10-0 loss on Monday, it was like, okay, when could they come back? You're waiting for the spark because if they get the spark, they can do it.
What you're seeing with this team is you're seeing a team that's hungry, right? You see a bunch of guys that are trying to prove themselves at the major league level, right? So they're not worried about what's the score, how many wins, how many losses do we get. They're trying to be efficient in everything that they do out on the field, right?
Yeah.
You get some of these guys that come in and they're on these big contracts and they're set for life and all that stuff. If they're down 8-0, 10-0, they're packing it in for the night. They're just out there going through the motions to get through the game. There are the rare occasions of players that don't do that, but for the most part, that's how it is. But right now, you got a bunch of guys, young guys, that are trying to carve out a role at the Major League Baseball level, and you're going to see games like this. You're going to see games where you're thinking, well, shit, they're getting blown out. They're going to fold away.
Yesterday's
but they
game,
don't. Yeah, like last night, you thought.
Last night, the 10-0
but I didn't
loss.
give up.
No, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
In years past, if they were down 10-0, fourth inning, fifth inning,
Turn it off.
I'm turning it off. I'm watching something else. I kept it on last night, thinking, man, I'm not counting this team
do it
out
on Friday.
Exactly.
And that's my point. Is there's a lot of things here. And let's not forget, I said it was Monday, but it was Tuesday that was the 10-0 loss. But let's not forget Monday, where they turned around and shut out the O's, shut out the Red Sox, only giving up 4 hits.
Yeah.
Adley caught that game, called his first career shutout.
Pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. It's a year of first for him. So that's the stuff that's really, really exciting to see.
They were using a long ball a lot this weekend too.
That home run chain was coming out a lot.
It helps in that shitty thing.
And I'll tell you what,
plays
I'll put
field,
mine on.
but
let me tell
it
you,
helps.
the Mount Castle bomb that he hit over the wall in Fenway
my God,
was
yeah.
a bomb. But Urias, the bomb that
Oh,
he hits
the dead
center field over the corner of the wall off of whatever that pole is that's out there.
It's crazy.
I don't know what the estimated distance was on that ball, but this
That's
talking
it had to be 450 at least.
Urias is a little dude.
430,
Urias is a little dude. I did not expect that ball to carry. I thought that was just going to be a deep fly ball to center field.
There were some
It was a bomb.
there were some laser shots in this game too.
Yeah.
I mean, Mount Castle's it was a laser over the Green Monster.
Yeah.
So it just
Starting to warm up. The ball's going to
Odor.
start flying out, man. And
Odor's loving
Odor.
it. He had a 3-run home run to start the game off today.
I was so wrong about Odor.
I still say it's a little bit. Well, my problem became I think he figured the hitting out.
Yeah.
It was just one of those you had a slow start. It was the fielding that was so bad. But I think that's what gets forgotten and how good the last few weeks have been with his bat. You really haven't had the issues with the fielding as much.
So here's something I wanted to bring up to you guys. And I thought it was interesting because we've kind of talked a little bit about this, not just with Odor, but we've talked about it with a lot of the hitters in the lineup. When we went to the game the one night, I noticed, like, God, nobody in the lineup is hitting over, like, there was one hitter hitting over 270. It was Mancini. Everybody else was below, like, 230, right? Like, Jesus Christ, we're just not hitting the ball. So I went and I dug some stats up, okay? The average hitter in Major League Baseball this year, the average is 239.
Yeah.
Okay? In 2000, the average was 270. So that's a 30-point gap, right? Mm-hmm. So in 2000, when we were, praising the 300 hitters, like 300 was the mark. If you were over 300, you were a good hitter.
Right.
Well, now you've got to take that down 30 points because the collective average is down 30 points. So now 270 is the new 300, essentially, is what it is when you look at it based on average across the league as to what it was now versus what it was in 2000.
There's 20
So
guys.
It's not just the Orioles.
There's 20 guys right now over 300. That's it in MLB right now. And it's early in the season.
That's impressive. That's really impressive.
Well, given the rest of it, but it's early in the season, you would expect to see more guys over 300 right now.
Right.
But there's not. The number 20 guy, Trey Mancini.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's at 300 right now.
He's at 300 as we speak. So to your point, it definitely there's something going on within the game. We've heard the players talk about the ball and it not flying out. Now we're seeing it flying out a little bit.
Urias put that to bed last night or the other night in Boston.
Well, but he may have
softball or he got a hard
one
ball.
of those hard juice balls. I mean, it's possible.
Somebody threw a Super Bowl out there because that shit was gone.
All right, you ready, Fred?
Yeah.
We're gonna get Fred's blood boiling just a little bit.
You've already done it twice. What are we doing now?
So Sunday.
This past Sunday or
this past Sunday?
Okay.
The team promoted right-handed pitcher Cody Sedlock. Before you go on a rant, all right. Under the previous leadership regime, he was the top draft pick in 2016.
Yeah.
He was their number 2 prospect as ranked by MLB Pipeline for a while. He had a successful half season in 2017 in low A. Junior year of Illinois, he is what really drove him to be so good. But in his debut, 3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 Ks, 5 earned runs, a 2.33 whip. Now, he came in relief. Let's not forget that. He's already inheriting some guys. He's had elbow and forearm injuries that sidelined him at the end of that 2017 season.
Yeah.
It's 2018. He had fallen to the number 12 prospect and had a bout with thoracic outlet syndrome that year. Don't know a whole lot about that, but whatever it was,
you're talking gibberish to me.
Whatever it was, he only had 13 appearances in 2018 and has been like fairly non-existent since then.
Right.
Well, they promoted him.
All right, so here's the thing with Cody Sedlock before I go into the Grayson Rodriguez thing. The thing with Cody Sedlock is you got to know what you got here, right? This was a first-round draft pick, to your point, was what, 2016?
Yeah.
He's a guy that's dealt with a bunch of shit, and at some point it's either you shit or get off the pot, right? You got to do something, and he's getting up there, in age. He was a college pitcher, so he's got to be 26,
27
I think.
or 28, I think.
Okay, even older, right?
Let me see.
So he's getting up there. He's not what you would consider a prospect at this point. He's just a guy that's stuck down in the minor league system.
4A.
So, yeah, right.
4A player.
4A player, right? So you got to figure out what you got in him. He honestly, what I saw when he first came back at Aberdeen and then in Bowie, I didn't really like what I saw out of him. I couldn't believe that he was a first-round pick. So for him to kind of work his way through the ranks and get that get the promotion, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm all right with Sedlock getting a look and seeing where he's at. Again, right now the stakes don't fucking matter. So you need to figure out what you've got in terms of depth, because is Cody Sedlock going to be a piece for the future? Probably not. But if he can come up and show that he can compete at the major league level, does Cody Sedlock turn into an 18-year-old that you can flip, to the Marlins or flip to somebody else for an 18-year-old prospect that can come in? Because at this point, it's time to rinse and repeat, or if he's going to stick, he's going to stick, right? So I'm okay with that. Now, to the point of Grayson Rodriguez, I don't know what the fuck else this guy's got to do to prove that he belongs here. I really don't. I'm at my wit's end at this point. I know it's kind of shifted from Adley to now Grayson because it's how we felt about Adley, and then finally Adley got called up. I know some people were saying, Friday makes a lot of sense. Last Friday made a lot of sense for him to come up, and I think it did. But if he's not up in the next week or two, I'm going to be severely disappointed. The numbers that he's putting up, especially the last couple of games, he's got, a 2.3 ERA right now down in AAA. He had 10 Ks, no walks, gave up like 3 hits the other night in 7 innings pitched. He was at almost 90 pitches. So you can't say, well, he's not going deep enough in games. He's not throwing enough pitches. None of that is a concern. What we talked about last week was his inning limit, right?
Right.
If his inning limit is 150 innings this year, that's fine. He can do that here, and he can hit that inning limit here, because ultimately what you're seeing the Orioles do right now is they're going to this whole 6-man rotation, and they're having that, that, what is it called? Starter.
Oh, no, it's the fucking opener. It sounds
Opener.
so
Yeah.
stupid.
Opener. I hate it. But
God.
if you're trying to draw out Grayson Rodriguez to last the entire year and your innings limit is 150 innings, that's how you do it, is you have a 6-man rotation and you have that opener in there to space his starts out. Yeah. There are ways to manage it at the major league level. And again, in a season where there are no expectations and there's no risk, why are you not bringing him up? It doesn't make sense. His catcher that he's going to be throwing to for the next decade is here. Right now, he's here. Let him learn with him and let him develop here.
Yeah,
that's it. End story.
I don't necessarily disagree. And we've talked about this. Playing devil's advocate, the only thing that I can see is if you don't feel this team's ready and he is ready, there is risk in bringing him up. There is risk in knocking up his confidence. There is risk in you trying to push him too far. The minor league season ends before the major league season, but for a reason. So you can stretch him and still allow him to come up in September and do that stuff. Again, I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying. I'm trying to understand the other side of the fence. I struggle with it, but the only thing I can say is that
I know there's something to do with the arbitration year. Like if he waits another week or two, that they get the extra year or less of arbitration, something like that. I can't remember what it is. There's like a date in a week or two that makes sense from his contract standpoint. But other than that, like the whole confidence thing, what's the alternative? Him stay at AAA where he's not going to be and just continue to build false confidence? Like get him here, just like Kyle Bradish is right now. Kyle Bradish got a 7 ERA, and I'm not worried about it one fucking iota. Why? Because he's going through his bumps and he's learning and he's going to get better from it. If Grayson comes up here and he goes from a 2 ERA to a 4 or 5 ERA,
everything we're hearing is that he doesn't need to come up because he's going to be that good. He's going to be that sense.
So your point is to just stash him for the sake of stashing him?
It's not my point. I'm trying to understand the other side of it.
But I'm trying to understand where you understand that point.
I'm saying I'm guessing at that point. I'm not saying I fully understand it. What I'm saying is I see what they're trying to do of what historically we've done with pitchers. You wait when you're not necessarily one piece away, right? But if you're in that situation where you've got a guy he's ready to go, and he is going to be your potentially ace of the future, right? John Means, we don't know what the fuck's going on with John Means. John Means is out the window at this point. He's a giant question mark, which means Grayson Rodriguez is your ace of the future. Not
in year 1 or year 2, but he's going to be your ace.
John Means didn't get hurt this year and has another year like he did before.
He wouldn't have.
When did he have a year without the injury? Every year he's had an injury. That's the problem with John Means. He can't stay healthy.
I understand that, but my whole point is he had the injury and he still almost was in the Rookie of the Year voting.
No, I get that, but got to stay on the field.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that there's people that view things that way, that they say, again, I'm not agreeing with it, don't like it, but there's people that view things in that historic context of baseball. The traditional side of baseball.
He went through tradition. He went single A, double A, triple A. Next progression is major leagues. What are we doing?
What I'm talking about is when you're on the precipice of a team that is trying to make that hump. They're trying to make that leap, right? They're saying, we know he's ready. We can flip him on. Let these other guys come together and then we'll flip it on. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not. I'm trying to guess that that's what I think they're thinking.
That line of thinking makes zero sense to me. And I haven't heard anybody that's been able to make it make sense. You want to know why I think
it makes zero sense to us? And this is just me spitting off right here.
This isn't me just as an Oriole fan saying, I want the best of the best here, and I just want to see him because he's like the shiny new toy that we haven't seen yet. It's not it. He's earned it. He's done everything that he can. The DL Hall thing, I understand the argument there, right? He's shown dominance in his ability to strike guys out, but He's still catching too much of the plate. His ERA is at like 5 something right now.
Yeah, but you could have said the same thing about Bradish. So that argument's nullified.
Bradish's ERA was not at 5.
He was at 4.5. It's close enough to 5.
He was at 3. Bradish's ERA.
I'll have to look at it.
So my point is, DL Hall, I understand pumping the brakes on him. I know everybody wants to see him here, and he's exciting. A left-handed pitcher that can throw almost 100 mile an hour. That's super exciting, right? Pump the brakes on him because developmental-wise, he needs a little bit more time. Grayson Rodriguez has nothing left to prove. A 2-something ERA. He's pitching 90 pitches a game now. He's doing everything he could do. His whip is like below 1. I mean, there's something. It's like right around 1. It's nothing.
Yeah,
he's done everything he can do.
I'm not again. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just I'm trying to get into the mind of why you wouldn't, and I struggle with that as well. Is my point. I'm struggling
Miss you too, Garnett. Why aren't you around anymore, my guy?
Bro.
What's been going on?
My man made it for the mock draft and kind of went quiet.
Yeah, he did. Now he's working with other things. He's got his own things going on with it.
But again,
to prove that this is why I hate having him at AAA. He got pulled after throwing a pitch in the 6th inning, and it was a fastball that only registered at 89, so I decided to take the Twitter. You can't go to the conclusions. It doesn't mean it's the worst thing. There was a conversation with the trainer and Buck on the mound.
Wait.
How about Grayson? Grayson got hurt.
Today?
He came out of the game in the 6th inning. Today. He's starting tonight. So he came out of the game in the 6th inning. They no word yet, obviously. It literally just happened.
You getting upset, it could have happened here too. Like,
then let it happen here. It's a waste of fucking time in the minors.
You cannot
Come on,
fucking
don't do
say
that.
if he would have come up on Friday and made his first start and got pulled after 6 because of arm soreness, you'd have said, "Oh, what the fuck? Why did we bring him up? This happened here."
It's a waste.
You can flip it any which way. That was my point last week. If he's going to get hurt, it can happen at AAA. It can happen here. You were saying last week, your words, when he gets here, he's going to pull back a little bit more and want to do a little bit more because he's going to want to be better and he's going to want to stay. Right. He's going to do all those things. But my point to you was that shit can happen anywhere. And if it did happen tonight, that's really bad news.
I was saying what you heard out of Mike Elias last week. Again, for the record, I have said I agree with what you guys have said. I'm always the guy that tries to look at the other side of the fence to make this an interesting conversation rather than just 3 guys agreeing on what's going on. I struggle with finding the reason. But your first reaction was shaking your head like they left him down.
No. It wasn't that they left him down there. It was just I was dealing with, holy fuck, our top prospect is now potentially hurt. That had nothing to do with that was you thinking that's where my head was at. That's not where my head was at.
All right, well, good. I'm glad we clarified that. But all right, so now that we've kind of talked that over, let's go to the guy that we did bring up that we have been getting excited about, and that's Adley.
Yeah.
Right? He is here. We talked about catching his first career shutout on Monday. Exciting little piece for catcher to be able to call a game like that. Means you're calling the right pitches and only give up 4 hits.
Yeah.
Right pitches, you're getting the pitcher to trust his stuff. It worked.
And that was what, Zimmerman that pitched that night?
Yeah.
Was it Zimmerman? Okay.
So Adley in his first few weeks, overall, I think he's been impressive. And the players that have been on the team have also said he's as advertised to them.
So you got people that know the game and people that watch the games, and then you got people that look at the stat board. If you look at the stat board, his average is not very good right now. No, those are the people that aren't watching the game, and those are the people that want to voice their opinions on fucking Twitter and say shit.
Why is he smiling? He said he had a secret opinion.
Oh, no. You got time for that. We'll save that for the end of the order.
Okay.
So you've got those
not
people.
Adley related.
Okay, all right.
No, Adley could do no wrong for this guy.
Okay, good.
So you've got those people that just look at the stat book and they say, oh, well, he's not hitting for shit. He's a bust and all this stuff. I've heard bust already on social media, and I want to blow my brains out. What are we talking about?
Blow your brains out. I want to blow their brains out.
What are we doing? The guy is doing everything right. He's making solid contact.
Yeah.
He's working the counts, going deep into counts, right? He's hitting the ball hard. Everything that we've seen is like 95 plus off the bat speed. We've seen 101, 107. We've seen hard hits off the bat, and he's doing it from both sides of the plate. So he's doing what we expect. Eventually, those hits are going to fall through. Eventually, when he calms down, he gets that first home run over the wall. We'll see the power come into it. He's calling a good game, right? he's doing what we'd expect him to do. Of course, we all wanted him to come in and hit 300 right away, hit 4 or 5 bombs in his first week. That'd be ideal. That would be great, and it'd be all over ESPN. That's not reality right now, but you can't label this guy a bust in a week and a half or 2 weeks, whatever it's been that he's been here. Let this kid get comfortable. Let him learn the staff, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's one of those things, to your point, it's only a week, and people are happy with him, right? Kyle Stowers, who's obviously still down in the minors, he says he's the real deal in every sense of who he is. You could just start with his performance on the field as a catcher and everything off the field. He's just so steady, same guy every day. That's what we've heard. We continue to hear. Tyler Wells, in reference to him meeting the pitchers, you talked about that, right? Yep. Tyler Wells said, honestly, it's kind of a nice touch. It definitely builds that bond between pitcher and catcher.
Yep.
That's what a catcher is supposed to be doing. Awesome. But look, it's also caught the eye of the vets. Chirinos, the guy that was the stopgap that we are now seeing was the stopgap and becomes the backup catcher. He says just how humble he is. He's been thrust into the role. I mean, #1 prospect in the minor leagues, and he's not having that with him, meaning it's not getting to his head.
Yep.
He wants to get better, and he's asking the questions. He came to me today asking how we attacked them in the past, and he wants to learn. That's the only thing you ask from a young player in the league, willing to listen to people that have been there and have done it before, and he's doing that. That's cool to watch.
So I've seen that firsthand. I've seen him in the dugout with the iPad, watching his at-bats, watching pitchers, and this is during the game.
Yeah.
All this research that usually goes into like watching your opponent and watching what you're doing wrong usually happens on the bus, happens on the plane ride, happens in the, pregame or postgame, that kind of stuff. This guy is like the quarterback on the sideline that you see. He pulls out the iPad and he watches how that play went wrong, and he sees what he didn't see or what he missed. That's what we're seeing out of Adley Rutschman at the major league level in baseball. You don't see that often, and that just goes to speak to show how great he wants to be. Right? He's a perfectionist in a lot of ways. Go ahead, Drew.
So you compare him to a bunch of guys that all came up before him. Granted, like we said, we always see would have been starting opening day. Julio Rodriguez with the Mariners, who they're playing this week.
Yeah.
He was batting like 206 for his first full month. Bobby Witt Jr., 216 first full month. Spencer Torkelson, 191 first full month. C.J. Abrams already sent back down. Baseball is fucking hard.
Yeah,
It
right.
is not easy.
You only succeed 1 out of every 3 times.
I know. I don't know much about what Torkelson.
Yeah,
I don't know much about what Torkelson's done like the last month or so. But Bobby Witt's come around.
You're making
Julio
the comparables.
Rodriguez has come around. He had a good game yesterday. He had an infield single for an RBI tonight. So you know what I mean? Like it's 10 games. You can't.
And they're talking about that too, right? Those guys, and I'd be curious to see the numbers of their walk numbers versus his, because
something like that.
He's patient. And actually, Brandon Hyde said Adley is somebody that's always seen a lot of pitches in the minor leagues, always walked. We've seen the ability to foul off pitches in spring training also, but you never know until you get here. I thought he was going to be a little jumpy and overexcited. His at-bats have been really good. He's seen a ton of pitches at every at-bat. He's ready to hit. He's laying off pitches outside the strike zone right now. The numbers are going to be there because of all of that.
And I think that's part of just who Adley is, but I also think that's large part in the player development, because we're also seeing this as far as the patient approach with guys that are down the minors. We're seeing it with Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson's got more walks than he has strikeouts, right? You're seeing it through all the different levels right now. So this just speaks volumes of what the total picture of what Mike Elias's changes in the organization are doing. You're finally starting to see that pay off. And again, Adley's doing the right things, making the contact, working the counts. He's walking. He's doing everything he's supposed to. He'll find the holes, and those balls will start going and flying out of the stadium. He just needs to get comfortable. And it was a great point, Drew, in bringing that up with those
one
couple
home
guys.
run can literally
home run changes it.
One home run can literally just the guy has like a 10, 12, 15 game hitting streak behind it, just like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the things I did want to bring up, because I thought it was pretty cool. This is like the nostalgia in me that's kind of like, wow, that would be. I'm jealous, right? So upon their arrival to Fenway on Friday, when they had that Apple TV Plus game, right? Small group of Orioles congregated around Rutschman's locker, and on their docket, before starting that come-from-behind win, was entering the Green Monster, that hallowed stanchion, and being able to do the tradition of visiting ball players
where they
placing their name on the green monster.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like that's something I would always love to do. I would love to go on a tour of Fenway Park. Like I've been to Fenway Park one time. It is not a comfortable stadium to sit in the seats. It's awful.
Have you seen the left field seats? They literally face
terrible.
the green monster.
I'm going to tell you now, it's not made
center
for almost
center field, you're facing the stands and behind first base. It's ridiculous.
The sight lines are terrible. The seats are uncomfortable. But you get a sense of like, man, this is history. This is baseball history when you walk in there.
It's hallowed grounds.
It's hallowed grounds. Yeah. But I've never done the tour, and they do have those tours where you can walk through and you can see all those. It reminds me because it's similar but not similar. So I went on a tour of M&T Bank Stadium, and down in the locker room, between the locker room and the training facility, they have this room where a lot of the families meet, a lot of the parents meet, or like the parents and the wives and all that stuff, they meet while the players are getting dressed and coming out. And in that room, it's literally just a white brick wall the whole way around, and it's nothing but autographs. And when I went in there, you've got, the Manning brothers are on there. There's all these players and like history in there. All these names, right? And what's funny is there was this one name that they were probably 9-foot ceilings, I would say, in that room. And there was this one signature that was all the way up, like right by the ceiling tile. I'm like, who the fuck wrote all the way up there? Who stood on a chair, right? So I got up to look at it, and I'm like, it was George Mirasan. Do you remember him? Do you remember him? So he was
crazy.
He was a wizard a bullet back in the day. Yeah. He's 7'7", and I guess he must have gone in there at some point and signed his name.
Really
but that was probably fucking eye level for him, right?
It was easy.
It was funny.
Somebody else touch it. Go ahead. Find out.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was really cool. Is he apparently one of those pinch me moments for them.
Yeah, that is cool.
He was actually joined by Kyle Bradish, Ryan Mountcastle, Brian Baker, a few others that were able to go in there and really just kind of, I think a moment like that, you think back to that game, right? And it was like, I feel like it could have been movie-esque where like somebody in the dugout goes, "We're down, guys, but we're not out." Right. We're on the hollow grounds. We can do this. Like that whole feel, right? Rookie of the year, or what was the other one? Little Big League.
Yeah.
Right. Like all those type of things. As you think back to those moments and thinking about being those situations as such a young kid. So probably really cool to see. One question I did want to ask you guys.
Okay.
What career first that Adley hasn't accomplished yet? Right, so he's gotten a triple, got a double, or got a triple, got a single. He's gotten the catch of the shutout at this point now. Which career accomplishment are you most looking forward to? There's a few out there that, like, obviously his first homer, his first double, first RBI. First base stealer thrown out. He hasn't done that yet.
That was going to actually be my play there.
Yeah,
first no-hitter.
Crazily.
I wonder why.
Me too. Oh, yeah, you can say home run. Yeah. I mean, you could say home run, duh, but like that would be
because he's heralded as one of the best throwing catchers to come up in a long time. Yeah. I want to see somebody test him. And him get that throw. He had one throw that was off the mark a good bit. That kind of was like, oh, shit, that kind of came out of nowhere. But I would love to see that happen. I think once those couple of firsts happen, man, things are really going to open up for him. He'll reach another level of comfort, and things will be fine.
At one point, his arm was – there were not quite comps, but like similar comps to Yachty. That's if
he's
you're gonna,
still fucking playing baseball
and still throwing people the fuck out.
That's insane to me.
Still
I watched him run though.
It's hitting.
Catchers.
You see a pitch.
You get later in your career with a catcher with those bad knees, you can't run real well. He was on first base and somebody hit a ball to the gap and he was trying to go first to third. Boy,
it wasn't
pretty. It looked painful for him running and trying to get to third.
All right, so we got something here in the outline, and you and I have no clue what the fuck's going on. So, Drew, what the fuck is your secret opinion here that's like you say is going to be game changing for us, or we're not going to? It's going to be unpopular.
Okay, so at what point we're at this point in the season? It's June. We always talk about stuff like, oh well, what time does this guy come up? When does this guy come up? What do you do about this guy? When's this guy going? July comes around. Is this guy traded? Is that guy traded? So I came up with something, and I guess I'll let you guys react to the question I'm going to ask.
Appreciate it, Steve.
Before I get into depth with it. So at what point do we start thinking to ourselves, is it time for a new leadoff hitter?
Oh, man.
I'm not saying.
I don't want to answer this.
I'm not
saying
there for.
so I could get his reaction.
Okay, so
listen. Okay, my point. I'm not saying.
This is my son.
I'm not saying. I'm not done with Mullins. This isn't even a trash talk of Mullins in any way, but it's not the fact even that you're hitting like 240, but you're striking out. Some of these strikeouts look so weak.
Yeah.
And it sucks because
It looks like he's not seeing them
when
all
he gets on, he already has like 10 or 11 steals.
Right.
So that was a 30-30. I at this point, you'd have to really have a tear of home runs to pull back-to-back 30-30s in my mind with watching him. So it isn't the fact. I'm not saying you set such a high last year. It is kind of hard to think that you're going to do that every year unless you are really an upper echelon player. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But it's the strikeouts. The strikeouts look weak. Look like you not I don't want to say like not uninterested because it's not true, but like it just seems like maybe you're just trying to get a B's over sometimes. Like at what point I don't know who could be. So that's why it's just a thought. So maybe you have someone in mind.
So here's the thing, like I'm open to it. And I'm open to it for multiple reasons because I've said this before. I think the leadoff hitter is more underrated than a lot of people give it credit for.
And it's a lot more pressure than a lot of people give it.
And that's where I was going. I think making a move to help take some of that pressure off of Cedric, moving him down the lineup, even if it means hitting him 2, or if it does mean dropping him to 8 or 9, whatever it is, taking that pressure off of him, being the leadoff, being the table setter, being the guy who's asked to work the counts, who's, the first guy to see the first pitch of the game, all that stuff, right? I think makes sense, especially with his struggles right now. But you got to have that guy to replace him. You don't want to make a move for the sake of making a move. If you're going to make that move, there's really only 2 guys that you could argue make sense from a traditional leadoff standpoint. That would be Austin Hayes, because Austin Hayes has the same type of speed and, he's hitting really well right now. He's
18 walks so far this season.
Exactly. He's got 18 walks. And then the other guy would be Mateo, and the only reason I say Mateo is because of the speed, right? If he gets on base, he could turn a walk or a single into a double pretty much every time if he wanted to, right? But his batting average just isn't there. He's not a contact guy. He's just not very, very good. So those are the only 2 guys from a traditional leadoff standpoint. Could they do the Markakis approach and put like Trey Mancini there where, Trey Mancini's got the best average on the team, but he's the slowest guy on the team. Markakis wasn't the slowest, but he wasn't the fastest. That's for sure.
As long as they need to move like put Chris Davis in the leadoff.
Right. No, definitely not doing that. So that could be the approach. I like it.
It's something that had actually kind of been on my mind last week, but we rambled. So it was something I was going to throw out, and then like there was a few instances since the last show where it was just like I said, I'm not dogging him in any way. I'm not sitting there already like shoving him down because he's had bright spots too. Like I said, when he gets on base, he's still fast as shit.
Right.
It's just to me, it's like it's the strikeouts. Like I can forgive your leadoff guy hitting 250. Mm-hmm. But I can't forgive it if you're not really walking and you're striking out a lot.
I agree with that.
It means a low average still means you're making a lot of contact because you could be like Trey Mancini for the first up until like a few weeks ago. God damn, and even still, what he has been hitting,
right?
It's right at someone. Like I haven't really even seen that from Mullins.
Yeah,
heard about.
It's pretty stark. I'll be honest with you. Guys, I've been high on Cedric Mullins since he was down in Bowie because that's the first time I saw him. So
you didn't care about him when he was born?
No, it wasn't until he's making me money. So I've always been a Cedric Mullins fan, and I thought the transition from him giving up switch hitting and being a traditional just a left-handed hitter was a very smart move for him career-wise.
100%.
And obviously last year it paid off dividends. I mean, the 30 for 30, his average was over 300 the entire year. I even thought last year at some point that over 300 average was a little bit false hope. I thought, he's probably more of that 270 to 280 guy. That's probably where he'll end up being. So I never expected Mullins to come back and repeat what he did last year. Never expected that. I expect him to be a 270, 280 hitter, and he's not that right now.
That's
He's that 240 guy, and that is a problem. So If the answer is to move him to get him hitting better and to get him seeing the ball better, I'm good with that. It's just, again, it's got to be the right guy. And I think Austin Hayes probably makes the most sense out of all of them.
That was my answer too.
If you're
I don't
Austin
know
Hayes.
if Mateo's consistent enough. Hayes has proven
Yeah.
he has. He had that little blip coming back trying to get used to the
glove.
hand, but now it seems like last handful of games he's got that.
Exactly.
I think I would tend to agree with you. If you're going to do it, it's Hayes. It's also, it's still, we just finished May.
Right.
Right? It's 2 months into the season. He did start off hot.
Yeah.
He started off hot. He got cold. Let's see. Let's give it till mid-June. Let's see if he's finding it, if he's getting patient. I do agree with you. One of the things I think he's doing, I think he's overswinging. I think the 30 home runs kind of maybe adjusted his swing a little bit. I think he needs to get back to making contact first, power later.
Part of it could be contract related too, because if there's putting a little bit more pressure on him to repeat what he did last year so that he can say, hey, this wasn't a fluke. This is who I am.
100%.
My next contract's going to pay me a lot of money and set me and my family for the rest of our lives.
Which leads to overswinging, right?
Exactly.
And
I agree.
that's kind of where I think it is. So I'm not. I think we need to pump the brakes on that just a little bit.
I think we do, but it's been over 200 at bats. It's not 110. Like
back home runs.
Did he not
6-2.
start off hot? Right,
Here,
guys go through this. It happens. If he turns around and stays and starting tonight or tomorrow starts hitting the ball, and all of a sudden by the end of June he's hitting 260, 270.
So Sean says, let's not jump the gun on said. It's still early on in the year.
Yeah.
Nobody's jumping the gun on him saying that, he won't be what he was last year, or that he shouldn't be in the lineup.
You're talking about trying to take the pressure off.
You're trying to figure out a way to turn things around.
Like I said,
him.
Even then, my biggest issue isn't the average; it's the strikeouts. Because a lot of the strikeouts, it's just
they look bad.
God damn.
Swinging.
Agreed.
At?
So, by the way, I've got it pulled up. Back-to-back homers. I think it was James that put it in there. Back-to-back homers. Roundcastle hit a home run, followed by Ramon Urias.
Wow.
And Trey hit one.
Damn it! I thought you were going to say Adley.
Trey had a leadoff double and hit the top of the damn wall. Out so he must have hit to the shallower part. So one other thing in our group chat. Hey man, they might be turning that corner because the O's were on Jeopardy tonight.
Oh, I saw this in our group chat.
The question. I had to pull it up. The question was.
The Orioles were a topic on Jeopardy?
Here, I got it.
On Jeopardy.
Traditionally,
there you go.
Traditionally, home fans of this AL East team give particular emphasis to yelling "Oh" during the national anthem.
That's pretty cool.
It ain't the Nationals.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, fellas, it's time for the 2-minute warning. I'm excited for this one. This guy actually got 2 topics that I'm excited to talk about. We don't really talk about
we don't talk about one of them, and the other one is just nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Drew, kick it off.
With the new 2023 Madden cover being announced, clear cut. Perfect way to do it. Honoring and paying homage to the late, great John Madden himself.
Yeah.
Which Madden title was your favorite, or was it another football video game of all time that was your favorite?
So for me, I love Madden. I love the Madden series. I am one of those guys that's like, God, can we get a little bit better? Can we get a little bit more? It's been the same product now for the last 10 years, it feels like. But for me, the greatest game of all time, football related, is going to show my age. Tecmo Super Bowl for NES, the original. I absolutely love that game.
You old bastard.
I am so old. It was the worst game as far as graphics go, but it was so fun. You could throw a touchdown with Joe Montana from one end zone to the other. It's great.
That was a good one. For me, I do love the Madden series, but I got to throw it back to my N64 days with good old NFL Blitz 2000.
Hell yeah.
He's on fire.
Great series.
NFL Blitz.
Being able to hit guys after the whistle and everything.
Like NFL Street was fun too.
There you go. There you go.
NBA Finals tip-off tomorrow night. Warriors are looking for their 4th title in 8 years. Celtics looking for their first title since 2008. Who you got?
This one, It's tough because I really do like what the Celtics are doing as a team. I think they could compete in the West. If they were in the West, I think they'd be a 2 or 3 seed in that conference. But when you got a threesome of Klay Thompson and Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, which Draymond is kind of the modern day Dennis Rodman defensively. Golden State's just a really good team. I think they win it.
Look, I don't disagree. Golden State's been here before. They've proven it before. They're kind of, 4 times in 8 years, once every other year, basically.
Yeah.
You start to kind of put the D word in there a little bit of dynasty, right? Type situation, especially with Steph Curry leading. But you know what? The youth of this Celtics team and Jason Tatum, the way he's played, Marcus Smart, the way he's come out, and
they're a good team. Jason Tatum is unreal.
And Williams with the rebounds. I got Celtics in 7.
Celtics in 7. Wow. All right. Didn't expect that one from you. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you tuning in as always. It's last call for alcohol. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the after hours. Any questions that you have,
a few topics to talk about too.
Get those in the comments now. We'll try to answer them in the after hours. It's kind of an early show for us.
NFL
for
2K
once.
on Dreamcast. Oh, that was a good one.
That was good.
Good
Randy
pull,
Moss.
Garnett.
Randy Moss was a beast in that one. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias if you haven't done it already. We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. You can follow us at all of our @ on Twitter as well. If you haven't hit like or hit subscribe on YouTube yet, do that. If
hit
you haven't
that little bell.
If you haven't hit like on Facebook yet, do that for us. If you could, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to this through the audio podcast as well. We will be back next Tuesday night. We apologize again for the delay this week. It was just Memorial Day week, and we had a lot going on.
Yeah.
We'll be back next Tuesday, 7:30, as always. For Fred, Scott, Drew, James, and Ryan, who are out and about doing their own thing, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya. It's time for the after party.
It's last call for alcohol. We didn't even talk about what we're drinking tonight because we don't have a sponsor, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Fuck those guys. No. I am. So tonight I had one of the Natter Days that you guys were drinking last week.
Yeah.
The
red, white, and blueberry.
I didn't have the red, white, and blueberry. This is just as good as the Natter Day from last year, the strawberry lemonade, which is still around.
Yeah.
So if you're, even if you're not a Natural Light fan, which usually I'm not, I usually think of this as like trash beer.
Give me the flavor stuff. Yeah,
this
way better than that.
This is like the what I drank in college kind of days, right? Like you don't think of this as like
You pound a bunch back.
I shouldn't be 40 years old drinking a Natural Light. That's what I'm trying to say. But this stuff, the flavor shit, is actually pretty good. So if you're a fan of the flavored beers, try it out. It's what 4.5 I think % alcohol volume, 4.2.
Yeah,
that's pretty
so
good.
if you want to drink a ton of shit and not feel anything, not feel like you're drunk at all, that's where you can drink some Natural Light.
And then sticking with flavored theme, so if you haven't had this yet,
these are good.
These are really
dangerous.
good. So this is Bud Light Seltzer's hard soda. So for those like not your father's fans out there, the root beer and all
Henry's orange soda is good too.
Orange soda. Yeah, this is pretty good. It's a light beer. It's Bud Light.
It's 5%,
but it's 5% alcohol, so it's what a
but
normal
it's
beer
healthy.
would be.
0 sugars and 100 calories.
Yeah, I don't care about that, but it's good. The flavor I've had it comes in what, a 3-pack or a 4-pack of different flavors?
So it's 4 different flavors in a 12-pack. Yeah.
So it's got cola, it's got cherry cola, orange, and what would be the
Lemon
equivalent
lime.
of Sprite. I'm a big fan of the cherry, and I'm a big fan of the orange soda. The regular Coke, because I'm so biased. Okay, so this is a good topic to talk about in the after hours. Are you guys Pepsi or Coke fans, or are you guys like, I can't fucking tell the difference between the two, so I like them both?
No, I'm not one of those fucking people.
Okay. Fucking psychopaths.
Pepsi.
You're a Pepsi guy?
I'm a Pepsi guy.
Okay.
My dad drank Pepsi. My dad drank Pepsi for a long time. It still does, but like it was a whole joke with my family, because at one point when I was like getting ready for college, one of the scholarships I went to was I wrote an essay to Coca-Cola about how much my parents spend on. I broke it down, like how much they spend on Pepsi.
My parents spend so much money on Coke.
No.
Wait a minute. No, that doesn't sound right.
No. I said they spend so much money on Pepsi, and that my dad, if I was given a Coke scholarship, would then put down the Pepsi and drink nothing but Coke for the rest of his life. And that I would as well. So it
didn't work out for you.
It didn't work out. I didn't get it. Actually, I ended up going to somebody I went to school with, which is funny.
Yes, I drank a Coke on the way here because Ariel had bought them. I'd rather have Pepsis.
You're a Pepsi guy?
Specifically cherry Pepsi. Don't. I don't care.
All right, so here's my thing.
Say about it, you keep your negativity to yourself. Cherry Pepsi is the best cherry anything.
Okay, so here's my thing. I love both of them. I like Pepsi and I like Coke, but I like Pepsi more. But of the diet sodas, there is no question about it that Diet Pepsi is 1,000 times better than Diet Coke. Diet Coke is god-awful. The only Diet Coke that is any good is McDonald's Diet Coke. It's the best.
Everything
outside of that,
fountain drinks is great.
yes, there's crack in them. I'm sold on it for sure. But Diet Coke is awful, and if you drink it, God rest your soul. No, there's something in it that makes it terrible.
There's a lot of them out there that are bad, and now you got the zeros that are eh.
Some of the zeros are eh.
The Sprites, I have to say, like that is what we've kind of gotten away from the Pepsi and the Coke. Like I'll get an occasional, I'll get a Mountain Dew or something when I need just a little bit more sugar.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, she got a bunch of sodas for the cookout, or I'm trying to hurry up and drink a lot of them just to get them out of the house. But I'm not that I swore off soda, but I drink a lot less soda than
Stephanie says Coke over Pepsi.
What is wrong with you,
Stephanie? I don't
get
know,
out
man.
Of here. I'm questioning her decisions now.
I am. Chuck,
she is listening
Chuck,
to us,
you
so I'm not going
married
to question
that
her too much.
So
she was also the first one in the chat room, so I'm not going to question her.
Sorry to break from the fun conversation, but to an even funner conversation. The Orioles. The Orioles. Since we over the last handful of minutes, so they were saying Mountcastle and Urias back-to-back jacks over left field. I was talking how Trey looked real upset with his double off the left wall. He said, well, fuck that shit. I'm going to do it myself. He hit a 2-run home run.
Nice.
And not too long, and before the 2-run home run from Trey, I guess maybe Mullins' ears were itching a little bit. He had an RBI hit.
Hey.
Sweet. So what's the score now? 9-0?
9-2 now.
9-2. Sweet. I'll take that.
I like it.
Appreciate it. So there, Yuri says, I promise I was watching in the gym, enjoying the show, fellas. Appreciate it, Yuri.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. So there were two stories that we did want to. We were thinking about doing a rundown, but it was like there's just too much other stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight.
Scroll through the comments to see if you see any good questions in there.
Grayson left due to
There's not a lot of questions
or statements that we can make
this
comments
is the one
on.
I wanted to make sure we pointed out. It is from Baltimore Sun, a couple of sources now. He left due to cramping. That was what I was.
It's fucking 100 degrees outside.
And that's what I was thinking too when I had brought it up and broke the news to you guys. I was reading about it. If it was a situation where he was more hurt than something more serious, like the trainer wasn't working on him, he wasn't like holding something.
Right.
It was literally just them talking, and he's probably like something's cramping up. At this point, why are you going to?
Let's go get an IV.
Speaking of freak accidents, you were showing me this shit with Kurt Suzuki earlier today.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw this.
I'll have to look it up. I mean, I've read the outline when you put it yesterday.
It doesn't look as bad as it ends up being.
This doesn't. The way that I'm about to explain it doesn't do it justice. And Fred will tell you because I was kind of like telling him about it, and he read it in the outline, and then I showed him the video. So if you go to MLB or I'm sure you can find the video on Twitter. So scary moment in the Angels Blue Jays game on Sunday during warm-ups.
James.
During warm-ups in the top of the third, right-handed pitcher Michael Lorenzen bounced the ball off the dirt. He was throwing a slider. It popped up and hit Kurt Suzuki in the neck. So Suzuki was in pain. He was kind of crouching near the dugout. He was talking to the trainer. And
it was on the side of his neck, like over off to the left side, right underneath. He wears one of those. No. He wears one of the
regular
traditional masks.
Old school, yeah.
So the traditional mask comes down around the cheekbone, then it's got the little bit of a neck thing here. It hit to the left side of the neck, right underneath the cushion of the mask.
Well, right side, but yeah.
Or right
but
side,
yeah.
yeah.
So it comes up and hits him. So he's definitely in pain. He's crouching. You can tell the trainers are talking to him. It's kind of one of those, okay, maybe the wind just got knocked out of him. Like it hit his windpipe or something.
First thing I thought was, when you get hit there, if your mouth is open, your jaws click. Have you ever had your jaw click like that? If you got punched in the face or something like that, it'll knock you a little silly there for a second. That's what I thought.
So it was interesting because they're talking with him. And then you can clearly see the trainer say to Madden, he's done. He's done. He's done. Let's go in and get him looked at.
Oh,
they
right.
go
So unassuming.
Yeah,
right?
Really.
So they get him. They start walking him over to the dugout. He grabs onto the trainer and the one other guy that was at the edge of the dugout. And you watch his legs. His leg kind of like gets a little wobbly and gives out. All of a sudden, there are 6 guys around him holding him up, and they show the shot where he's standing.
He's
like
out.
He's out. His lights are out.
Yep.
And they hold him. They hold him up. They're throwing his mask off. They're rushing him down the tunnel. Apparently, they got him down in the tunnel. He came back to. He says he doesn't remember anything from the time that he got hit to the time that he woke up in the tunnel. He doesn't remember what happened. Doesn't know how it happened. They took him to the hospital. He was there for about 6 hours. They came back, and when he was asked, he was like, "I really don't know." His statement was something along the lines of like, I really don't know. There's arteries and stuff right there, which is what I said to Fred. Like, if you get hit in the jugular, if that pinched the vein or something or nerve or whatever, like I'm not a doctor, but
this is an episode that we need Ryan
out.
on. Ryan might be able to actually chime in and help us on this with his nursing school.
Right. The resident doctor.
Or like, I feel like a karate expert might be able to go, oh, well, that's because if you go, right to somebody's neck.
Hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but he was a boxer.
Oh, so you should know. You should be very well versed in neck related contusions, because apparently it did
let's
leave quite
find out
the
what
confusion.
happens.
No, it's not. Let's be fine.
Give me that baseball over there. Let's find out.
No, but that's
crazy. And I showed you, and I was like, when I told you, it didn't do it justice, and I showed you the video. You just watched it.
If he's by himself, he's down.
Well, so here's the thing.
There are 5 guys had to hold him up. Yeah,
I've been hit.
Down.
I've been hit like that.
And it was unassuming.
But by foul balls, right? Like
that
coming off a bat and coming straight back and hitting me like right above like the collarbone.
Yeah.
Area.
In the Orioles game the other day, it hit off Adley's mask and hit the umpire, and he took him out.
Right, exactly.
Took more precaution, but still.
I've been hit there though, and I've it'll knock you a little back because you're like, holy shit, you're not used to getting hit there, not at that kind of rate. But I've never felt like I'm gonna pass out from it, and he legit passed out. So it had to do something with blood flow. He kept putting his head down and taking breaths, and then when you saw that again, if you guys haven't watched it, Drew just watched it.
Yeah, it's kind of you can pretty much if you literally just type in Kurt Suzuki injury, you'll find a video on Twitter or something. It's not going to be injuries from years ago. It's going to
it was from Saturday. It's just crazy. So yeah,
I'm going to show my age here too. Going back to the soda thing. Do you guys remember Jolt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember Jolt?
Surge?
Oh yeah, but Surge was after Jolt.
I think Surge is the one I had.
Jolt was great. Jolt was basically
Jolt made a comeback for a little while.
It was basically like an energy drink before energy drinks that tasted like Coke. So I like that. I also used to like
chlorine in it.
I don't know if it's still around. Is RC Cola still around?
It's probably.
I believe.
I used to love RC back in the day.
Cola's great.
That's how I know my family was like trash.
I want to say that
I drank RC Cola. I drank RC Cola and Shasta growing up.
I don't know why this is jumped in my head though.
Walmart or somebody bought RC Cola.
Something, yeah. My grandmother.
I think it's owned by Coke.
My grandmother sent me to.
I think it is.
Yeah, probably.
Somebody bought it. So
my grandmother sent me to the convenience store to get her a Coke or whatever. I came back with RC Cola. She was not happy. I don't know why.
Ryan always makes comments and pokes at me
okay.
Ryan always makes comments and pokes at me that I'm white trash. I'm like, that's how I know I'm white trash. I drank RC Cola and Shasta growing up.
I think
nothing wrong with Shasta. Shasta's fine.
We drink a lot of Shasta.
By the way, James says, "Did you wear your Speedo down the ocean, hon?"
Of course. Yeah, no. Whole lot going on down there. There's a lot of berries and stuff. I can't put that at a Speedo.
You had a puppy with sharp teeth around. He wasn't playing.
God, yeah. Give him a target? No, thank you.
to James, Bert Kreischer does it.
That's true. That's true.
He says it'll change your life.
Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see Bert Kreischer, but it's part of his thing.
And then Drew, I know the other when we were doing the topics was the other topic that we got to touch on real quick because we have jokes about it and it's baseball, fantasy football. So go ahead.
I changed my fantasy team name because of it.
Yeah, you did.
So I don't know if you know who Tommy Pham is, but he decided to go ahead and slap Jock Peterson, crazy guy as he is, over fantasy football. Now, I love fantasy football. We're all in 2 leagues together.
Yeah, yep.
It is what it is. It's got the camaraderie. It's got the love. It's
the trash talk. It's
a
lot
major
of fun,
hobby.
man.
I get it. Grant, we're playing for $100 buy-ins in both our leagues. These guys must be playing for like $1,000 or $2,000, whatever.
Sure, so playing for more than
that. It was Reds in. I think he's in San Francisco now, Jock Peterson. It was Reds in San Francisco this weekend, and it's almost unassuming. It's like Jock's out with some other player at chit-chat in a batting practice. Tommy Pham walks up, decides to slap him. It's the most unassuming slap, and the video is bad, so far away, so you don't know how real hard it was, or how serious, or you can't tell anything was said beforehand. So it's real crazy, like what happened. So they did suspend Tommy Pham for 3 games.
What?
So
over a fantasy football smack?
Well,
so Peterson, obviously they asked him at pregame, and then weird ass Jock Peterson. And by the way, Tony thinks Jock Peterson can stay away from my team. He went through this long, just like meandering conversation about why this happened. That's when the fantasy football thing came out, and it was not only like okay, you made a trade with someone I wanted, that guy we were talking. Okay, not worth slapping, obviously. You were arguing over Jeff fucking Wilson because,
oh, Jesus.
Jock Peterson, put him on the IR, and Tommy Pham couldn't in his other league. Why were you allowed? It was so unassuming, and I lost track of what Peterson was even saying. That's how much he was talking. So Tommy Pham... then it goes even a step further. Schefter reporting on this shit.
Was this the Mike Trout thing?
So yeah,
I was about to ask how he fits into this thing.
Mike Trout is apparently the freaking commissioner. So Tommy Pham, in his excellence, decides to just go ahead and shit on Mike Trout, call him the worst commissioner of all time. It seemed clear as day. Whatever.
He's no funeral director.
Tommy Pham, one, thank you. I came up with the Pham to Menace as my
I like
team in Dynasty. Came up with that on my own. And I mean, it could be out there. I did come up with it on my own. Anger management. Go get some.
Show it out. Ryan says all Drew's draft picks are 2 inches too short.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Was there any other comments or anything that you wanted to bring up, Joe?
I'm not.
Did I just call you Joe, Drew? Sorry.
Joe will never be in this chair. Not really.
By the way, that whole fantasy football thing smells like cover up.
Yeah, I mean, it could.
It smells just the way that it's drawn out, and like the fact that Mike Trout had a press conference about it. Like it smells like, hey, we need you. Like this was a thing between me and him. We don't want everybody knowing what happened. Can you appease us and help us out?
It's funny.
That sounds like Tommy Pham's a crazy person, and I fully believe it.
So who wants to go to a PLL game at Homewood Field? I'm down, Googs. You know that. I'll be there. You just let me know date and time. I'll be there.
Oh, man. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in each week. Thanks for staying with us for the after hours and last call. We will see you guys next week.